Thank you and welcome to the Planning Committee. Could I just first of all say, could you all please switch your mobile phones off? Please. There will be no fire test today, so if the alarm goes off, it is for real. So, members of the public, if the fire alarm does go off, which I hope it doesn't follow me, but still, if you go through the door here, into the foyer and down onto the courtyard, please. Members, on Remembrance Day, the 11th of November, some members like to go to their own village or town on the 11th day, or the 11th hour, 11th day. And this year, the Planning Committee is being held the same day. Has anybody got any objection if we start the meeting at 1 o'clock? So if councillors want to go to their cenotaph or the service, that they would be able to do so. Wedi cael cynnig bod ni'n derbyn hwnna. Mae Derwyn eilio. Di pawb yn cytuno. Everybody agree that we start at 1 o'clock on the 11th of November. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you. Before proceeding today, I wish to remind everyone that proceedings of today's meeting are being filmed for live and subsequent broadcast via the Council's internet site. Generally, the public seating areas are not filmed. However, by entering the meeting room and using public seating area, members of the public are consenting to being filmed and to those images being broadcast on the Council's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the Council. I should also remind all present that I have the discretion to terminate or suspend the webcasting if, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings or that continued webcasting might infringe rights of any individual. The voting system has been tested by our support staff this morning, and I would like us all to test that our translation headsets are receiving audio from our translator. If those of us that use a handset, would you do so now? Could we please test the transmission? Catherine, gwelwch yn dda. Anybody not working? All happy? Now, I will now open the public meeting and start the webcast. Welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee being held today, Wednesday, the 16th of September 2015. This meeting is being webcast with the exception of any business that the committee resolves to exclude the press and public because of the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined by the Local Government Act 1972. Are there any apologies, please? Irving Parry. Peter Owen. Stuart Davis. He's coming at 10:30, Richard Davis. Yeah, we've had the 5, yes. Any more? Declarations of interest.
Alice Jones,
I need to go Alice, do. Declarations of interest. I'll now hand you over to our monitoring officer, Sue Cordiner, please.
Members will be aware of the requirement under the Council's Code of Conduct to declare any personal or prejudicial interests in respect of any business to be considered at today's meeting. Such interest should be declared now, or as soon as the Council affected becomes aware that they have a personal or prejudicial interest in today's business. All members declaring an interest are required to state clearly what the interest is and to advise whether it is a personal interest or a personal prejudicial interest as defined in the Code of Conduct. Any member declaring a prejudicial interest is required to leave the chamber for the duration of the business and can take no part in the proceedings. Members with a personal interest only may take part in the debate and any vote. If a personal or personal prejudicial interest is declared today that has not previously been disclosed and recorded, the council concerned will be required to complete and sign the declaration of interest form, which is available from the committee support staff here today.
Anybody declaring interest? Appears not. Urgent matters, I haven't had any. Now go to the minutes of the last meeting just to confirm the accuracy, and I will take them page by page. The Planning Committee meeting held in the County Hall in Ruthin on Wednesday the 15th of July. Page 13, page 14, 15, 16, Cynghorydd Mary Lloyd Davies.
Dim ond gofyn yn garedig, da chi'n sylwi yn yr amodau, fi ofynwyd am amod ynglyn â uchder y llawr, os dwi'n cofio'n iawn.
Pa tudalen? 15, ie?
15. Tu ar gwylod, ond yn y cais cyn, ar y tudalen cyn, felly. Cynnig o'r Cynghorydd Stewart Davies fe eilwi gan ac yn y blaen. Be gath i gynnig yn diwedd? Gath y llawr i'w ddeud ar ryw uchder arbennig, mae'n deud od nhw'n sefyd fan, dydy. Perigol i foci gael ei liniaru yn yr achos hwn. Dwi'n rhoi amod yn hwm ar y caniatâd cynllunio. Di hynny di digwydd?
Yeah. It's a proposal, yeah.
Sorry, Chair, I missed a bit of the translation there, so I didn't fully get that. You're talking, Councillor Mary Lloyd Davies, around the application Land off Greenlake Corwen, which was obviously granted consent subject to conditions in relation to mitigation for flood. I think we're still waiting for the details of the finished floor levels. If that's what you were, we would liaise with the local members certainly when we get those. Thank you, Chair.
Page 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Will someone move that there? Diolch yn fawr. Eilio, thank you very much. Now turn to the applications. The first one is item number 5, but can I ask, before I go to number 5, to ask the officers to give a brief introduction to relevant items on today's agenda, please.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you, Chair. Bore da, good morning everybody, good morning to members of the public as well. Just as ever, making sure that everyone has got the relevant bits of paper and documents in front of them. The most important one is the blue sheet. The blue sheet will give you the running order of today's applications, and also you'll note on the very back there are a few special reports that will be at the end there relating to some of the policy items. There is also a sheet, a white sheet that members should have, which again is an information report which we will go through at the very end of the meeting relating to the changes to planning fees. And then finally there is a yellow sheet on your desks as well, which is in relation to one of the planning application items, and we'll talk you through that when we come to it. Diolch yn fawr, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The first item is agenda item number 5. And it is Corwen Ward, and the ward member is Councillor Hugh Jones. Application number 05-2015/0353/BF. The proposal is the resumption of residential use of dwelling for local needs occupation and erection of extension at Penygraig, southwest of Plas Tirion, Glyndwrdwy in Corwen, and the applicant is Mrs. Heather E. Wilson. And the officer's recommendation is to refuse. We have a public speaker on this item, Mr. Bob Dewey, who is speaking for the application. Could I call Mr. Dewey up, please? You have 3 minutes, Mr. Dewey, to address the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, and to your officers, particularly Ian Weaver, for helping us through the process. And thanks to Councillor Hugh Jones. Can I start by reminding you that your LDP identifies a number of key issues, and I quote, that the key issues for the county are a lack of housing, including affordable housing for local needs, and a historical lack of growth in rural areas to sustain facilities and provide homes for local people. Now, we're very happy that, for the most part, the officers seem to recognise that the application is satisfactory, but the big issue seems to be to do with abandonment. And we were aware of that, which is why the application refers to the resumption of residential use. So we did try to market the property in line with the policy, and 2 local estate agents were approached. And if you look at the plan on page 3 of your report, you will perhaps not be surprised to realise that they were somewhat cynical about the chances of getting any commercial interest. It was a house, it looks like a house, and they believed that it was quite unsuitable for commercial use, and they really effectively declined to advertise it for us. So going through that process in the face of such professional advice would seem to be time-consuming, costly, and ultimately would be pointless. The applicant has been assessed by the Ty Clwyd Affordable Homes Administrator, and she's been found acceptable and been on the list for several years now, but she hasn't been able to find a property to meet their needs. The family is growing up, and they really can't afford to wait much longer or go through the process of advertising for another year. So there is the question of affordability. The applicants own the property, so that's a major start in the affordability calculation. And Mr. Wilson works in the building trade, so a lot of the work will be done by him and family members. So in my view, there can be no better way of establishing faith in their own home, in their own community. And you'll see the support from the Community Council and from a goodly number of local residents. So, members, this is a classic opportunity for you to provide an affordable housing for local family, and at the same time preserving a traditional historic house and reusing it for its original purpose. By restoring it and bringing it up to modern standards, it will benefit a local family and the village and the county as a whole. I ask you please to vote in favour of it. Diolch yn fawr i'ch hawdd.
Thank you, Mr. Dewey. Thank you very much. There's quite a bit of information, members, on the blue sheet. I will give you a couple of minutes or so to read it. Happy? Right. I'll ask Mr. Mead, please, to give a brief introduction.
Thank you very much, Chair. Obviously, having regard to what the public speaker has explained there, I just thought it'd be appropriate just for officers just to go through some of the policy issues relating to this particular scheme and the reason for the officer recommendation. I think there's two issues basically here. One is around the policies that you've got in your local development plan for the use of this building, and then the second issue is really around the design and the extensions that are proposed for the building if it was to be used again as a dwelling. I'll start with the easy one first. I don't think the officers have got any particular concern around the extensions and the design of the proposal for reuse of a dwelling. Your policies within your local development plan, when it comes to conversions of rural buildings, does allow for subordinate extensions to these types of properties to enable them to be usable. So I don't think, from an officer perspective, we've got too much to worry about in relation to design and compliance with policy. The concern that we've obviously got is in relation to the use of buildings and the policy that you've got within your local development plan about the rural conversions of these buildings. Your policy basically requires that the building should be marketed for potential commercial use, and as you heard from the public speaker, they have attempted to do that. And given its location, it probably would be difficult to reuse for commercial purposes. The second criteria, however, of your policy, and I think this is really important for you to understand, and this is the basis upon which we've made our recommendation, is around the affordable local need issue. We've gone through in the report, in your main report on page 45, we've tried to explain around the evidence that's been provided with this application around marketing, but also around the financial evidence submitted with the application to suggest that the applicants can meet your criteria around affordable local need, and how would that be controlled into the future. That's the key issue for us, is that there is the possibility that somebody could come to us and say, we want to convert this building and we want to use it, which is fine, it's creating housing for us, but what's stopping them doing that conversion, living in it for a week and selling it on to somebody from outside the area? That's really going away from what your policy is designed to do. So I understand that there's a strength of feeling locally and a strength of feeling from the local member here that they want to support this application and allow these people to live in this building. What officers would say is, we're not strictly wanting to ram the policy down your throats in this instance, but we do want to make sure that you've got the necessary controls in place in terms of making sure it's for local need in perpetuity. So if members were minded to grant, this is what I explained in the blue sheet, you'd want to be giving consideration to how you would impose a condition to ensure that in the future this building remains affordable for a local need. And that's the key issue. We haven't had any information from the applicant here to suggest that they're happy to do that and to suggest that they are meeting this affordable need in this instance. That's why you've got your recommendation. If the applicants had come to us and said, here's all our evidence of affordable local need, and we are completely happy to keep it that way, we won't sell it on to the open market, we'll keep it for local need, then you probably would have had a different recommendation. But we didn't have that evidence with the application. That's why you've got the recommendation you've got. But if members are managed to grant, please give consideration to potentially imposing that type of condition to control it in the future. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr Mead. Cynghorydd Hugh Jones, aelod lleol.
Diolch yn fawr. Wedi iwsio cardyn Stewart Davis, ond na'n roed o'n ôl cyn na'n botio dros y fod ei gwir, ynde. Mae hwn yn diwrnod reit fawr heddiw, diwrnod Cymru fel diwrnod o Waun Glyndŵr. A mae'n, wel, dim dod drist, ond mae'n falch bod fi'n dod yma i cynrychioli rhywun o Glyndwrdwyth, so catre o Waun Glyndŵr. Cenedlaethol sydd o'r nôl i fan hyn. Mae'r ymgeisydd o'r nôl, mae'r cenedlaeth nhw'n dod o'r chweched genedlaeth. Fe gyna i fwy amser, fi'n siŵr sydd wedi ffeindio allan bod nhw'n perthyn i Waun Glyndŵr neu
5 munud gyn ti.
Fi'n hapus bod Paul di siarad o flaen i deg gwir, cos fi di siarad efo'r ymgeisydd, maen nhw'n hapus efo'r ymodau mae Paul eisiau rhaid lawr. Den nhw ddim eisiau symud o'r tŷ, tu cartrefol ydi o, a maen nhw'n hapus iawn i fynd efo'r amodau bod os da chi'n pasio bod o'n mynd drwad, bod maen nhw'n hapus na nhw ddim werthu o ymlaen i godo bod o'n mynd y tu o fforiadwy. Just un peth o fi'n pasio dweud ydy, fel os y ddim tai fforiadwy yn Glyndwrdwy, a fi ddod yma ar y 12fed o'r Rhagfyr 2013 a ges i e-bost yn ôl gen Graham Bors ydy ma'n ddau yn yr LDP plan yn Glyndwrdwy ac sy'n neb wedi dod ymlaen i adeiladu tai yn Glyndwrdwy os y neb sy'n gallu fynd. Ar hyn o bryd maen nhw'n byw yn tŷ bychan iawn yn Glyndwrdwy. Ma'n 3 o blant a 2 lofts yna rhwng y teulu gyd. 2 ferch ag 1 bechgyn. So sag gan nhw rhywbeth fel chi'n pasio heddiw unw fynd i fyw, dwi'n gwybod lle na nhw. A fi'n gwybod, da ni adeiladu bob man arall, ond jes 1 tŷ bychan yma'n hyn, a jes un peth os ydych chi'n dangos y llun man hyn, a jes fynd yn fain polisi PCE 4, ma'n deud, conversion local building will only be permitted, a ma'n deud, have an architectural or historical merit and make a positive contribution to the landscape. Wel, da chi'n gallu weld y rybel sy'n ewan. So nhw'n adeiladu tŷ reit daclus, bydd o'n neud positive contribution to the landscape. Gobeithio wnaeth chi supportio be ni'n trio neud. Diolch.
Wedi bod yna yn neud ymweliad yn cytuno'n hollol mewn lle hardd iawn. Cynghorydd Kevin Williams.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Dwi'n yn gefnogol 101%, ac i fynd y bellach na hynny, dwi'n mynd i gynnig bod ni yn derbyn y cais gyda y cymal oedd Paul yn rhoi i mewn iddo fo. Dwi'n meddwl bod eisiau mynd i'n pellach, os oes rhywun yn pleidleisio yn erbyn hwn, mae'n eisiau sbiad i pennau nhw. Diolch yn fawr. Os
rhywun yn eilio, Cynghorydd Arwyl Roberts yn eilio. Cynghorydd Mary Gloyd Davies.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Wel, dwi'n cefnogi hwn rhyw 75%. Oherwydd, i fod yn deg, meddyliwch bod o'n rhywun o rhywle arall, dros y ffin neu'r beth bynnag, sut fysa ni'n edrych ar y rheolau sydd gyda ni. Be sy'n mhoeni fi, yr unig pryder sydd gyda i, dweud y gwir, ydy beth sydd ar y papur glas gyn y cyngor ac gyn Twydyn Range yn difalu o'r bobl yna. Mae yna air reit diddorol does yn yr ail linell gynnyn nhw. Enclosure appears incongruous. Ddim yn cydweddu wrach, sy'n ni ddweud yn Gymraeg. Ac yn affortunus oherwydd y ffordd mae'r grisiau wedi'w ddangos, dydy o ddim yn cydweddu nacdi. Ac dyna unig broblem dwi'n teimlo. Sori, Hugh. Ia, mae'n dal ar y cynllun, dydy. Ac oedd ddim sôn am hynny y bore yma chwaith. O felly, da chi yn deud bod nhw'n tynnu'r grisiau a rhoi oddi mewn. Dwi wedi sylwi wan ar y papur glas bod hwnnw yn cael ei ddeud y fama. Dwi'n cydweld ar 2 gynghorydd bob ochr yn mi dwi'n lle poeth bore yma. Bod ni yn rhoi amod ynglyn â, os da chi am i cydweld yn rhoi amod ynglyn â defnydd am byth, achos mae'n hyfryd gweld y teuluoedd lleol, ond dwi'n dal i feddwl a theimlo bod 75% o estyniad yn dipyn mwy, achos maen nhw'n deud hynny fa ma'n dydy, papur anghywir. Dyma ni. Enclosure appears incongruous. Mae o yn no fawr, a mi fasa dwi'n siŵr gwneud mwy o ddefnydd o'r estyniad sy'n na rwan, yn cafodd o do, ond dwi'n gwybod fi asa di bod yn fwy cydweddu hefo beth sy'n na rwan. Ond ar y cyfan, cefnogi ydw i, ond jyst bod fi'n teimlo bod ni eisiau cadw o fewn y rheolau hefyd. Diolch yn fawr. A ni gofio, os awn i fyny rhyw dro eto, cofiwch beth da ni wedi gwneud heddiw.
Cynghorydd Hugh Hildis Roberts, ysgwelwch yna.
Diolch, Cadeirydd, thank you. I'm absolutely 100% supporting to grant this application because I think it's important that we have homes for local people, and I know our policy, and you know, Graham, I've challenged our policy on numerous occasions, and if I bring Councillor Mary Davies, I bring back to the case that we had in Petra Kelly, which this committee went against, without affordable housing as well in that application. And I think it's, you know, I look at what the D-Valley, this body, the AONB that comes in and tells us a lot of things on a regular basis. When I look at the plans, and the reason I went to look at the screen was, I think that looks pretty shoddy at the moment. And I wouldn't say that's outstanding beauty in my eyes, but maybe somebody else sees through different glasses. So, and you know, since a tin building has become outstanding beauty is another story. So I think there's the element of common sense that needs to apply, and I would be supporting the a grant in this, not refusal. But my question is that if we are going against officer's recommendation, are we then tied to affordable housing? Because that isn't tied as such in the refusal. So if we were to grant planning, would that mean without affordable housing, as we stand today, if we were a straight vote at this moment in time? I just want clarification on that, please. Because again, you know, families do get bigger, and maybe, you know, if we have an extension, the AONB may not be happy to put an extension on this building. And if they happen to have 6 kids, what would they do then? Because they also want to move the static caravan, which I think if I want a static caravan in my field, in my house, I have a right to have it. Because I'm allowed one on my dwelling, I understand. I may be wrong, officers, you may tell me. But I just think, again, you know, common sense, and let's prevail, please.
Officers, please.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, members are entitled to propose and second whatever they want in relation to this. You've got your recommendation in front of you there. Officers are recommending refusal on the basis that we think the property's been abandoned, first and foremost, but secondly, there hasn't been sufficient justification submitted around the marketing and around the affordable issue. So, members have got the opportunity, if they want to propose grant with the affordable local need condition on, they can do that, but also if they wanted to propose grant without any such condition on, they could do that as well. We'd have to vote on those particular propositions in this case. The issue around Councillor Hilditch-Roberts' point about a caravan, obviously, if somebody cites a caravan within the curtilage of their dwelling and it's used for ancillary purposes to that dwelling, then it can be a lawful citing of a caravan. Sometimes where people cite them and they're not ancillary and there's somebody separate completely living in there, then that's a different matter. So I think the issue really now is around proposing and seconding. What we normally do, as members are aware, if members are minded to grant, you normally delegate the imposition of the remainder of the conditions between an agreement between the officer and local member. I think in this instance what we do, however, need to debate is clarity on whether we're imposing that condition around affordability for local need. Thank you, Chair.
Before I go, Sue, please.
The only thing that troubles me about this application is it has come forward as a property for a local need. So I think somewhere within dealing with it, you have to remember that. I'm not sure you can grant permission and take the local need out.
Yeah, let members go, Chair. Let members go. Yeah, that's fine.
Cynghorydd Rhys Hughes.
Yes, bore day everybody, good morning. Hugh touched on a special day. It's also a special day in our house here. Because the youngest boy is 18 today. But unlike Owen Glyndŵr, he's not going to march here with his mates and burn with him to the ground. I hope he's not. But he is quite lively. Yeah, totally support this. Totally. I think everybody's touched on most of the things I was going to touch upon. Mairig at the back there touched upon, we must remember what we've done today, whatever we do, and if it was somebody from, say, London who was trying to do this, may I remind Mairig and others here, many times I've studied for 10 years, and our planning applications, the Vale of Clwyd have come before us, and some young couple have come back from London, and we've granted them permission to move into whatever. May I remind you, this is not a young couple that haven't gone away to London, they've stayed in their local community, they work local. How many times have we told about the demographics of this county, that we haven't got enough young people here, and they're travelling over the border? Come on, members, let's stick to this one. We have a chance here to change things. I would like to know on the affordable housing piece, Paul, if we were to go down the line of putting the affordable housing link to it, Does that mean the only people who could live in it would be off the affordable housing list, or could it be sold locally to somebody who fitted the connections policy, you know, the 5-year thing? That's what I want to know.
Councillor Dave Simmons.
Thank you, Chair. I think Rhys has actually just asked the question I was going to ask, because I'm a little bit concerned that should we impose a condition, how would we police that condition, and how long would that condition last for? Surely there must be a time scale, and then surely then after that they can do. But I do support this application, but I am a little bit concerned about the affordable part of it and how we actually are going to police it, for want of a better word. Thank you, Chair.
Are there any more speakers before I ask Mr Mead to clarify these points? Cynghorydd Mary Lloyd Davies.
Gofyn y garedig am bod wedi cydweld efo symud y grisiau, bod yna amod, os da chi'n cydweld, bod yna amod ynglyn â'r grisiau mynd I mewn. Bod y grisiau mynd oddi mewn i'r estyniad a ddim oddi allan fel mae ar y cynllun dwi wedi weld. A dwi'n cefnogi wrth os rwch chi amod hefyd ynglyn â'r tŷ.
Mr Mead, please.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just gathering my thoughts in relation to some of the questions there. Obviously, Councillor Rhys Hughes and Councillor Dave Simmons has raised this issue around local connections policy, what it says in your guidance in terms of if we were to impose a condition, how would that work? Obviously, the issue really is around when the current people that are living in the property want to sell and move on, who is entitled to go into that property. Obviously, within your supplementary planning guidance, there's what's known as a sort of cascading mechanism here to sort of try and identify people that are on a list, an affordable list initially from the local area, and then obviously you start cascading out then, don't you, to a wider area to ensure that somebody in need of affordable housing gets that affordable housing. That's always tied in with normally with a legal agreement, and the legal agreement will set out how that mechanism is. The mechanism at some point in time, though, as you correctly point out, if there is absolutely no affordable need here at some point in the future when these people come to sell, then clearly they've got to be able to sell it and move on. So that will be written in to whatever agreement that we tie the people down to in this instance. So it's not what we've said here in terms of the way the application's been described, resumption of residential use of dwelling for local needs occupation, as Susan pointed out, is within the description, so it is there. What officers were concerned with was there wasn't any justification or information within the application to show how that could be for local needs occupation. So we do need, if you're going to impose something here and you're going to grant, we do need a condition to try and agree that mechanism. It's tied in then with a legal agreement, and that local connections policy kicks in within your SPG around how we cascade that out when they look to sell. So hopefully that explains a little bit around how the property could be used in the future. As I say, if there is no affordable need, then they will be able to sell it on into the open market. That's how these things work. The other issue around the staircase, we're not saying that the current proposal is unacceptable anyway in terms of design. You've read the report, you've read the reason to refusal there. The issue around the staircase, around the extension sizes, officers do not have any concern about that. However, on your blue sheet, we have emphasised there that the applicant's suggestion to put the staircase within the existing building now, that could also be dealt with by condition. So if members were minded to grant, then we would agree that type of condition with the local member. So I think that's answered the relevant questions. I'll hand back to the Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Hillgage.
Sorry, I just want to come back on the clarification about affordable housing, okay? Now, I will use an example that I've been involved in where it would potentially cost $200,000 to build a 4-bedroom house. Yeah. However, the open market value was around 110. You probably know it better than me. So that's what we're talking about, tying them down into this, isn't it? That's just to be clear on that. So it actually could cost more to build than the open market value. So I think that for me, the focus here is about local need for the individual, more around affordable. Yes. And this is a derelict building that is a mess, and if we don't do something about it, it could be on one of your eyesore lists further down the line and will cost the council money going on. So I just think we need to be mindful of that, and I would personally like to move that we grant permission without the affordable housing clause.
Cynghorydd Dewi Owen.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, where was I going on this? Now then. Yeah, to me, the AONB are trying to tell us what we can and can't do in planning, which I don't like at all. And therefore, I don't agree with the having to take the stairs from outside the building inside, if needed. Do the AONB not think that the new house there would be far better looking than tin sheds like it is at the moment? I think that's disgusting that they think that way. I think they've got to come into the 21st century, those people. Thank you.
Before I go to get clarification on the actual proposal, I'll ask Mr Bowes to come in, please.
Thank you, Chair. To really repeat what Paul said, and I know Councillor Hugh Hilditch has just put another proposal on it. At the moment, what we've got is an application that says for a new dwelling for local needs. That says in the description of the proposal. So that's what the applicant is asking for. So I think, as Sue has said, it might be difficult then to not impose any kind of controls or conditions. Say, well, it's just leave it on the open market, because that's not what is being proposed, because what the applicant themselves are proposing is a resumption of the residential use for local needs occupation. So I think you have to interpret that in a certain way. So I think you've got, as Paul said, a number of issues. One is the application is for local needs occupation. I think that's what legally that's what they're asking for. So if you're minded to grant planning permission, and you have a proposal to grant planning permission that has been seconded, then our recommendation is put another condition on, just to reinforce what's in the description of the proposal around reinterpreting this local needs by saying it's affordable. Now, that then leaves the question, is that there forever, and all those questions? Well, of course, the applicant will have the opportunity at a later date, if they want to apply for planning permission to have that restriction removed if there was no local need in the area, no affordable need. But at least you've protected it, and you're not actually doing anything that the applicant themselves isn't asking for in the proposal. The condition will be there, but they will have the opportunity to remove that condition at a later stage if we got to the ridiculous situation where they wanted to sell it, and all the indications are they don't want to sell it. But if they did down the line, and it had to be for affordable, and there was no affordable need in the community, then that would be a ridiculous situation. And if they can demonstrate there's no affordable need in the community, then clearly we would remove that condition, because there wouldn't be any evidence base for it. So I think it's logical that you have a proposal, as I understand it, and we'll just ask the proposer and second to confirm their position. I think you've got a proposal that's been put forward and seconded that is to grant consent for a local needs house with a condition on that just says that should be affordable. I think that's a logical position. Don't have a problem with that. I think you'd have an illogical position if you wanted to grant consent for a local needs property without having the condition on that helps describe what that actually means around local needs. So in this occasion, Councillor Hugh Hilditch, I don't think you've had a seconder, but I would say to members, think more about the first proposal, which I think we'll ask for clarification on, which is about imposing the condition on affordable housing. I don't think it's prejudicial to the applicant, because it's basically what they're asking for anyway, and they have the opportunity at a later date to remove that condition if there is no affordable need. So hopefully that deals with your principle on the affordable house, and we'll ask the members to confirm their position in a minute, those who have proposed and seconded. The second issue I just think that needs a bit of clarification is the staircase. At the moment, one of the members has suggested they would like to see the staircase inside the building, and that's actually what the AONB is suggesting. What we as officers are saying from the planning side is we're quite comfortable with the design as proposed. We're quite comfortable with the staircase as proposed. So we're not saying, we think if you're going to grant consent contrary to our recommendation, that you need to put a condition on to control the staircase, because we haven't got an issue with the staircase. But if the councillor wants to propose that, he can do, and ask for a seconder, and then you've got a substantive motion and a motion, both to grant consent, one with a condition on that talks about affordable housing, and one with a condition on, if you propose it and are seconded, for affordable housing and the staircase inside. So the ball is back in your court as members as to what you actually want to put forward to vote on. Our recommendation, of course, is still to refuse, but clearly the way the debate has gone, members are keen to grant consent. We're not going to put a big fight about that because I think there's some logic around that. Our recommendation is if you're going to, put a control on around the local needs stroke affordable, but we're saying don't worry too much about the staircase because we don't have an issue with it, but it's for you to decide. Hope that's clear, Chair.
Thank you. I'm very kind to you this morning, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair.
This is after you've spoken. I will ask the members who voted and proposed and seconded to clarify their position, and then I will close the debate and we'll go to the vote.
Having taken a steer from the local member, I will withdraw my proposal. But just to let Graham know that there is an argument on the reasons you gave, which we could have, Graham, but I will avoid that for today.
I'll see you after.
Diolch yn fawr. Right. Cynghorydd Kevin Williams neu Cynghorydd Arwel Roberts in.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Dwi yn rhoi y cynnig ymlaen eto fel oedd o'n sefyll bod dod efo'r cymal fforddiadwy achos fel mae Graham a Paul wedi deud dydy o ddim yn cael bobl allan am byth efo dipyn bach o lwc fydd y bobl ifanc yn byw na am 90 cyn hyd yn oed feddwl am werthu lle. A pam ddaw hynny, wel fydda i wedi hen fynd os yn ei feddwl. Mater arall i hynny dwi'n cynnig fel nes i'n y dechrau.
Diolch yn fawr. Cynghorydd Arwel, ydych chi'n cytuno? Yn eilio, diolch yn fawr. Mr. Sorry.
You might find as a contrary proposal, you see.
Cynghorydd Mary Glyde Davis.
Dim ond yn garedig derbyn beth sy'n cael ei ddeud, ond sy'n ni yn hoffi gweld amod ynglyn â'r grisiau. Dwi yn teimlo, maen nhw'n cydweld, mae pensaerniaeth fatha harddwch. Mae'n dibynnu sut ydych chi'n edrych yna fo. Ac dwi'n edrych ar hwn bod o ddim yn cydfynd â cefn glad, tu hanesyddol i gael y grisiau mewn gwydyr ac yn y blaen yn y cefn. Felly fyswn ni'n hoffi gweld o tu mewn. Ac mae'n deud ar y glas, the applicant's suggestion to put the staircase within the existing building could be dealt with by condition if the committee resolves to grant permission. Felly, dwi'n gofyn am eilydd i'r...
Dach chi'n cynnig hwnna. Os yw rhywun yn eilio Cynghorydd Mary Glyde Davis? Nag oes. Mr. Mead, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. That does make it a little bit easier for us, I guess, because we just have one vote on this particular item. So the proposition is to grant with the additional condition around the affordable and local need clause, as Councillor Kevin Williams has said. So if members were wanting to grant with that condition, it will be pressing the plus button to grant. If they want to go with the officer original recommendation to refuse, it will be minus. So plus to grant, minus to refuse. If we clear the board, please, and all vote now. Thank you.
In favour of the application 18, abstentions 1, against 0, total votes 19. Therefore, that application has been granted. Item number 7, Llanbyrnog. Cynghorydd Mervyn Parry is a ward member. Application number 18, 2014, stroke 1164, PS. And the proposal is for the variation of condition number 12 of planning permission, code number 18/2012/1595, to allow 2 access points to remain open. The location is at Highfield Park in Llangwyfan, Denbigh, and the applicant is MHC Highfield Park Limited. The officer's recommendation is to approve the variation. And we have 2 speakers on this application. The first one, well, I welcome back to her old stamping ground, as it were. Gwen Butler, please, who's speaking against the application. In case you don't know, Gwen, you have 3 minutes here.
Thank you very much. Good morning, committee. I'm here to speak against this application on behalf of the local residents of Llangwyfan. Committee members have all received a comprehensive email from my friend and colleague Julia, which I will not duplicate but will try and reinforce the important bits within the 3 minutes I'm allowed. The conditions under consideration were imposed to assist the applicants during construction work, whilst acknowledging local road safety fears, so it was made only temporary. The local road safety fears have been justified in a number of incidents along the lane recently, and you've seen photographs of a personal problem I had, which cost quite a lot of money, and photos have been circulated. To give you an idea of the area, Highfield Park is a large complex of land and buildings with its own internal road layout. The narrow country lane we use to get home runs alongside the complex. This narrow lane is also used by walkers heading for the hills, horse riders, sheep, dog walkers, churchgoers and clients of Highfield Park and their carers who regularly enjoy a stroll up to the fields beyond. The lane is part of the fabric of the AONB and is a lovely, peaceful part of the world. It is not a motorway. I would now like to speak specifically about the entrances concerned. Entrance D opens onto a blind bend on the lane opposite the church. At present, construction vehicles go in and out of this complex at this point. The applicants wish to retain this entrance because they say the land it serves is landlocked. If it is landlocked, this has happened during construction and should have been noticed by somebody at the time. However, local residents believe it is possible to connect to the internal road layout of the complex and allow the applicant's own maintenance vehicles to stay on site, which is surely more convenient for them. Entrance C is apparently only to be used by staff connected to the premises nearest to that entrance. Again, there is no physical reason why vehicles cannot use the internal road layout of the complex. The applicants say there would be few vehicle movements, but they are still prepared to fell a very old yew tree and construct a slip road onto the narrow lane. This is clearly over the top. In conclusion, local residents can see no justification for the continued use of these entrances and urge committee to refuse this application for road safety reasons. 20 seconds left.
Thank you, Brian, very much. Nice to see you.
You too.
And the public speaker for the application, Mr. Andrew Armstrong, please. Again, Mr. Armstrong, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Andrew Armstrong. I'm a director of the Architects Company who've been instructed to implement the master plan on Highfield Park. If you visited the site, we're well underway with the proposals. The application was granted on the 16th of June, way back in 2013, and it's for the demolition of 3 existing buildings and the erection of 3 8-bedroom residential healthcare facilities and construction of associated car parking within Highfield Park. Like the lady speaker's just said, the works are well underway. The construction is coming to an end now, and we've been working very closely with the neighbours with disruption and such like. Highfield Park has 19 conditions on this particular application, and all we're looking to do at this stage is keep and retain 2 existing accessways. We call them points C and points D on our plan, and point C obviously serves 2 buildings that have been operating for a long period of time, one called Pine Cottages and one called Rose House. We think it's very, very important to actually have those accesses for the future use of those buildings and obviously its residents. The conditions that we've had imposed on us have worked an absolute treat in terms of the way the new car park is working. I call it the car park hub. It has 97 spaces in it, all new spaces in addition to what we had before we started this project. So you can imagine what sort of impact our new highways works have had on helping with traffic movements with the local residents and on off-site as well. Those 97 spaces have been implemented. They've been running since the summer of last year. We're using access point A for all those movements to and from. So the point I'm talking about today is access points C and D. We have no intention of using 97 cars through those 2 access points. So we're talking about 3-4% of movements on this particular park associated with those two properties. There's only a maximum of 8 spaces allocated in those areas. There's evidence. It's been successful. The movements are working great. We're obviously keeping close relationships with the neighbours. They have reported incidents with individuals. That's obviously gone through to the management team, and that's obviously been dealt with on a one-to-one basis. We think it's good practice to keep a design. People who are obviously living in these properties, it's important to have emergency egress as well. It's not just for serving the carers. So in the event of an ambulance, we'd like to get the ambulance as close as we can to those two properties. The accesses are existing. They've been there for a long, long time. It all works as what is 2 very, very minor access points on our site. We've had detailed discussions with Mr. Parker from the Highways Department to make sure that we can improve access points with concerns of neighbours in terms of positioning of cars and such like, and visibility displays.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. In the absence of Councillor Mervyn Parry, Councillor Joe Welsh, I believe, is going to speak on his behalf as a local member.
Yes, you've all had an email from Mervyn, and I had quite a long conversation with him last week, and we went through it. So I do know the lane quite well myself, because I did travel up there quite a lot when I was working up at the house just beyond it. So I'm just going to read a little bit from Mervyn, and then probably add a little bit myself at the end. So this is an amendment to an application regarding entrances C and D, and the original intention to bring everything through to Gateway A, maintaining all traffic management internally. And I think Mervyn wants to make it very clear as well that the residents and himself fully support the work and investment that's being done at Highfield Park and all the benefits to the residents and the area from such a large employer. Gates C and D were only to be used for emergencies, with a concession on Gate D during construction. However, he feels that the condition has been ignored by staff at Highfield and construction workers throughout the development. Cars have been entering the Gate A and looping around and coming out of Gate C. And the owners claim that part of the development may have landlocked themselves, and this could have been avoided in their planning. And he also mentions the removal of a 16th century yew tree, which sounds quite significant to myself. And he cannot see that allowing the restricted use of these entrances will work, as they have abused the conditions from the start. The residents of Llangwefan and Mervyn have met the management of Highfield several times to discuss, and every time it's broken promises. And it is a very narrow lane that runs alongside Highfield, and they're trying to avoid that becoming part of their traffic network, because there's the church up there, and there are a number of houses up there up a very small lane, and they can operate the site perfectly well without changing these conditions. So that's all Mervyn has to say. Can I just ask a couple of questions myself as well? Just on the speaker who was for the application, saying about the 97 cars and that they won't go through Access C. Is there anything to stop them going through Access C? Or presumably they can all still go through Access C. And I believe he was saying something about ambulances and emergency. And I thought that even if we refuse this, it still will be an emergency exit and entrance, won't it? And also I would like to propose that we refuse this application.
Proposing that we refuse it. Yes. Anybody seconding that proposal? Dewi Owens. Cynghorydd Bill Cowis, gwelwch yn dda.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just one question. In the recommendation on page 68, Access D shall be used only by maintenance vehicles and no direct link from access shall be provided into the main site. And we just heard that a lot of these things have been ignored in the past. But the question I want to ask is, how will this particular recommendation be enforced? Thank you.
Cynghorydd Mary Gloyd Davies.
Mr Cadeirydd, mae ddiddorol iawn, mae'n sôn am ABEC ac yn y blaen, ond lle mae ar y cynllun? Mae'r cynllun yma'n dangos rhan o'r safle, diolch yn dangos safle y cyfan i gychwyn, mae hwn yn perthyn i rhyw gais cynt, mae rhai, a diolch yn dangos lle mae ABNF, os ydych chi'n medru dangos i ni ar y rhywle, be da ni'n sôn amdano fo, yn cofio bod yno, da ni wedi bod yno i weld y lle, da ni gyd weld i wneud yr amod, ac wwan mae'n ofyn i dynnu o'ne, ond mae'n bwysig bod ni'n gwybod be da ni'n sôn amdano fo.
Mr. David Roberts and Mr. Mike Parker, I think this is your subject.
Good morning. So, essentially, with this application, there has been a lot, as has been said in the chambers, of to and fro between the applicants here, and there has been inclusion of Mike as the highways officers to come to a conclusion that's suitable for the local residents and for Highfield Park as the business there as well. Unfortunately, outside of the planning process, that's not something that's been able to happen. So we've got in front of us today an application that seeks to continue the use of the accesses here. So we're faced with the proposition of either approving or refusing that. Mike's got a greater understanding of the flow of the traffic through the site, so I think Mike will go through a few of the questions that have been raised as to how the accesses are used and the nature of the use now for you.
Morning. I've been involved with this site from the outset, from the original planning permission, so it's been quite complex. With this current application, I've met with a local member and residents on site to try and address their concerns. I asked the applicant to accept the condition in relation to restricting access C for the sole use of Pine Cottage and Rose House by means of a locked barrier or retractable bollard. They are not willing to accept this, but are improving the visibility at the point where access C joins the highway. There is an approved internal signage plan that directs traffic to the main access A, and I consider it would be difficult to sustain a reason for refusal based on no barrier or retractable bollard being installed between Rose Cottage and the site, especially with the internal signage being in place. Therefore, I consider that the proposals are acceptable. I've driven round the site, I've been into the new car park, and there is a link through to Rose Cottage, and possibly some people may use that. I've been up there on various times. I've not witnessed it, but I don't live there. Okay. I've had various dealings with there. From the original outset, there's a passing place been installed on the road. There's also a passing place by Access B. So that's I consider it to be acceptable. A couple of questions. Was access C can be used from the main car park by all if they wanted to, but there's a management plan in place, there's directional signage, there's signage on the road with arrows pointing people down to access A. I don't see what benefit there would be personally from going out of access C, but you know, the emergency link, if a retractable bar was there and a barrier, that could be lifted to provide an emergency link. Okay. Restrictions for access D, purely for maintenance vehicles. I'm not sure what, maybe David can help me on what restrictions are in place to stop people using that as a... I'm not sure if there's a link through there at the moment, actually. Maybe we could just clarify that. But any more questions, I'll try and answer them. Thank you.
Sorry, just while we're doing that, I think we're looking for some more information, and we'll come back in a minute. Mike, Councillor Davis asked about point A, B and C and whether we can actually point to those on the plan as well. I don't know if that's possible or not. Because obviously there's some plans on the papers. Whether or not we can work out where A, B and C. I don't have to do that right now because we can take some more questions while you're thinking about that, if that's okay. And also, David, Councillor Cowie asked about how would the condition be enforced. I think we need to address that particular question as well, in fairness.
Certainly.
Can you do A, B and C?
In relation to the use of Access D, we've been advised that within the site there isn't currently a through route to the remainder of the site. So if the condition actually restricts creating that through route, so if that through route were to be created, then that would be a breach of the condition, and obviously we could enforce against that if necessary. In relation to apologies that the accesses haven't been annotated on the site plan. Access D is opposite the church to the top left-hand corner of the site map, and Access C is the next access to the south of that. You said there's a series of 4 elongated buildings that to the south of that there's another access point, and that's Access C.
Iawn, Cynghorydd. Cynghorydd Meirig.
Os ydy bod yn gymorth galw ar y cynllun, dwi'n cymryd mai F ydy o dechrau yr enw Alexander House, yeah? Okay. Oh.
No, just for clarity, so I'll just, if I can, just for... yeah.
Let's see then.
Councillor Welsh is obviously helping Councillor Davis, but just for clarity, you've got 4 points of access, A, B, C and D. We apologise for not having put them on the plan, that's where we are. Try to resolve that now, Councillor Davis. I'll explain where A, B, C and D are for you, and move on. So A is where it says, if you're on page 61, where the plan is, you've got a plan there, and if you look at the bold black line, if you go below that by quite a bit, there's a building there called The Lodge. The Lodge is point A. Where point A is, if you go up that road, so you drive, if you imagine yourself driving up that road, you drive over the word the, and you carry on going up, and you've got Alexander House. Just above Alexander House, that's access point B. If you keep going up that road a little bit further, you come to, on the right-hand side, as Dave said, four little squares. They're little buildings. That is point C. That's his access point C. And if you carry on going over, just as you get to access, you drive over what looks like a little square on the plan, isn't it? You carry on going over that, and you come up to where it says Church and Stocks. Just on the right of that is access point D. So it would have been helpful to put that on the map. Sorry, apologies for not doing that. But now you know where points A, B, C and D are. Thank you.
Iawn. Cynghorydd Hugh Hildis Roberts.
Diolch yn fawr, Cynhyrrydd. Mr Parker, the words you use were what you consider. So what you consider and what I consider may be different. So I'd like to open that to challenge, if I may. The first question I've got is that if the current conditions on this application had been adhered to, would we be looking at this application before us now? Because what it's doing is essentially pushing the traffic up the track and making it more use of that road, where at the moment it is used to the bottom end, isn't it, if I'm right, yeah? More than because it's meant to be for emergencies at the top end. So the majority of traffic is at the bottom end currently at A, yeah? And B.
Access C.
Yeah.
There's some buildings there that they've got an existing access, and the buildings there use that access. Rose Cottage and I don't know what the other one's called. What's it called? Those buildings are used. That access is used for those. It's the link from the back of those buildings through to the site that the condition basically they're on about now. We asked for a condition about retractable bollard or a barrier on that link through. So that access would still be used for those buildings. It's purely beyond those, so that between there and the car park. That's what we're looking at.
Because what I did, I drove up there the other day, and I drove in and out of all the entrances, and nobody stopped me, and nobody sort of pulled me up on it. So the essay question is, it is guidance, but how are we going to actually police this in any shape or form? And the challenge from the local member, is what he wrote down in his email, was that at the moment there is no enforcement being imposed. So I think the members have to give that due consideration, because we need to look at exactly what the implications of policing this, if it's granted, moving forward.
Councillor Conrad Hugh Williams, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. As somebody who lived in Llangwyfan, by entrance C to the left, I moved 12 years ago, but entrance C was always closed and entrance D was always closed. Now, I lived there for 5 years, and every time I drove past A and B, it was like taking your life into your own hands. They would come out, straight out onto the road, and I know I drove up the other day as well, Hugh. I'm very impressed with what the hospital have done, and have done a fantastic job, and nobody can take that away. But our residents, who we are here today to represent, have got concerns, and I feel what we've got to listen. Now, by opening this B, you know, Mike's already said what they're not willing to put any barriers. They're not working, they're not meeting halfway. You know, they want it all their way. I think we should listen to the residents. You know, we've got to take a yew tree down. That yew tree there you see on the left-hand side of the screen, take a bit of the corner off. We've got young families living up by Highfield Park who come down on their bikes. They've got to walk to the bus now. There's no transport. Walk down. How safe is it for them? It's not safe for them. Now, I will be voting against this application because I feel we need to listen to the residents of this community. Diolch yn fawr.
Are there any more speakers? Councillor Joan Butterfield.
Thank you, Chair. Mine's just a question to the Highways Officer. How many accidents have been logged up on this area over the last 12 months or 2 years? Thank you.
I've got one speaker indicated. Councillor Dewi Owens.
Thank you, Chair. I fully remember going up here to give them, and when it came up as a temporary measure, and we voted then for it to be just a temporary measure for the construction, and I cannot see that I could go with it because of the problems that it's arising to the residents that live above this area, this point here, and I think I think they're being very unreasonable, considering the amount of money that they've spent on the hospital, that they can't spend a little bit more to put in a barrier there of some sorts that it cannot be used.
Officers, please.
If I could just... accidents, I don't think we've got any recorded accidents over the last 12 months. That doesn't mean there may not have been any. Recorded accidents are what the police are reported to the police. What we have to bear in mind here is that during the construction phase it has been particularly busy up there, okay? There's been a lot of vehicles going up there every day, contractors' vehicles, heavy goods vehicles, okay? The development, I think, is just opened, yeah? Would there be any evidence that would sustain a reason for refusing this application? Yeah? Would there be any? Have we got any, are there any figures been supplied by the objectors or whoever is against it about actual numbers on there, people using it on there? That's what they will ask you in any appeal. So I think we just have to bear that in mind. I've spent a bit of time up there, and there may be vehicles on there. There's a scheme of passing places been put in as part of the original scheme. I discussed this with the local member and the local residents. There was another passing place proposed recently, just where that grass verge is. We were asked to take that out. I'm not sure, but we've tried to work with the residents on that. The visibility has been improved at that junction to make it safer for vehicles coming out for Rose Cottage and the other building. So I just think we've got to be careful that if you refuse it and it goes to an appeal, there's got to be some evidence there. So that's and I feel with the scheme in place, they also have a management team that meet the residents, and apparently they're not working together. I'm not aware of that, but you know, I don't know how that could work a little bit better maybe. But if you've got any more questions, I'll try and answer them.
I'll ask Councillor Hugh Williams to come in, and then I will ask Councillor Joe Welsh for the reasons for refusal, and then we'll go to the vote. Councillor Hugh Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If we turn to page 61 on our iPads, if you look at the top of the screen there, all those buildings I take are coming into development sometime in phase 8. So don't be fooled what all those developments up there won't be coming down through D and through C. Thank you very much.
Councillor Joe Welsh, can I ask you reasons for proposing the refusal, please?
Yeah, it's on road safety grounds and urbanisation of a country lane.
Okay, go to the vote, please.
Yeah, I think Paul's job, so we'll get Paul in so we don't make any errors on that, because he does it so well. Good debate. So just to summarise that while Paul's getting in position, obviously you've got our officer recommendation to grant. You've heard what Mike said, your highway officer. Obviously some members have been on site and had a look and driven around themselves. It is going to be a matter of opinion. The only proposal you've got in front of you, actually is from Councillor Wells that's been seconded, is to refuse the application contrary to officer recommendation. And you just heard the grounds. It's basically on highway safety and I think he said urbanisation of a country lane, but it's predominantly around highway safety, isn't it, is the debate that you've had. So we're going to go to the vote.
Thank you, Graham. OK, as members will be aware, it's always going to be plus to grant, which is the officer recommendation in this instance. If you wanted to refuse on the basis that Councillor Welsh has raised, it's going to be minus. So plus to grant, minus to refuse. If we clear the board, please, and all vote now. Thank you.
In favour of the application 6, abstentions nil. Against the application 12, total votes 18. Therefore, that application has been refused. The next item for debate is the number 8 on your agenda, and it is Ward Bodelwyddan. Ward member is Councillor Alice Jones. Application number 40/2014/1445/PF, and is erection of a Class A1 convenience store with ATM machine, associated parking, access arrangements and landscaping. And the land is at Tirfree Inn, Tirfree Lane, Bodelwyddan, Hill. And the applicant is the New River Retail Property Unit Trust number 4. And we have a public speaker. The officer's recommendation is to grant, and we have a public speaker, Mr. Tom Hallett. Can I call Mr. Hallett to come up, please? You have 3 minutes, Mr. Hallett.
Good morning. My name is Tom Hallett. I'm a planning consultant acting on behalf of New River Retail, the owners of the T3 Public House. Our client New River secured the T3 as part of a portfolio of properties in December 2013 from Marston's Brewery, where they then carefully considered all properties. The preference has always been to retain the pub wherever possible and to work with Marston's licensees and local officers to achieve just this. Consequently, the scheme before you seeks to provide an additional community facility on surplus land at the site, which will help in securing the long-term future of the pub. I'd like to thank the planning officer for her thorough report and proactive approach to the application proposals, which has enabled us to address all matters raised, leading to the recommendation before you today. Indeed, we've worked closely with officers over the course of determination to address matters as they've arisen, and as a result, I would highlight there are no objections from any of the statutory consultees to the application. In terms of determining the scheme, the application fully accords with policies of the development plan, and the site is in an appropriate and sustainable location. The scheme has been designed to respect the character of the site and surrounding area and to sit comfortably within the street scene. The scheme has been amended over the course of the application to address in the main comments raised in respect of highways and servicing. We've subsequently repositioned the proposed store slightly southwards in order to accommodate a loading area to the north side of the store that can accommodate the requirements of both commercial operations through the provision of a secondary service access. Further revisions include the provision of a pedestrian barrier to encourage pedestrians to use the existing crossing point on Ronald's Way. In addition, we have also submitted a road safety audit and subsequently revised the visibility displays in accordance with the report's conclusions. In this regard, we would highlight that highways officers are now satisfied with the proposed access arrangements are acceptable and that there is an adequate on-site space for deliveries, parking and turning. We note concerns raised by Town Council regarding the perceived increase in traffic. However, we would stress that the application is intended to act as a top-up food shopping facility where over 50% of all journeys are anticipated to be undertaken by non-car modes. with the remaining custom coming from journeys already on the road network in the vicinity of the store. As a final point, the application seeks to provide an additional community facility that will contribute significantly to the local economy, create new jobs and attract investment, as well as increase consumer choice, retain expenditure and reduce travel demand. To conclude, the development is in full accordance with PPW and local planning policies. There are no objections to the scheme from any statutory consultees, and the application will bring a number of benefits to the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hallett. Members, there is quite a bit of information on your blue sheets regarding this application. And you will have had some information from Councillor Alice this morning on the iPads. I will ask Mr. David Roberts if he give a brief introduction to this application as well, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and keep it very brief. It's just in relation to the comments received by the local member that I understand many of you will have seen this morning. Officers have noted that there's a concern in relation to vehicles using Ronald's Way in terms of delivery vehicles and the potential for the size of the vehicles being inappropriate for the size of the lane. What officers would suggest in relation to that, if members are minded to grant, is that we could reasonably control that through requiring the submission of details of how that, or stopping that happening, will be managed by the company. So potentially all delivery vehicles will go left out of the site rather than right, to prevent them using a potentially unsuitable track, and if we have that put forward by themselves, then it'll be that would be enforceable through condition if there were any breaches in relation to that. Thank you.
Yn absenoldeb y Cynghorydd Alice Jones, Cynghorydd Arwyl Roberts yn siarad ar ei rhan. Cynghorydd Arwyl Roberts, sgwrdd dda.
Diolch yn fawr, Secretary. Dyna ni gael trafodaeth yma, be di ystyr T-free. T-free yn golygu T uwchben. Uwchben T arall. Mae Cynghorydd Mary Goed Davies Stigley roi mi. Chwarae teg o. Na I droi y Saesneg. Dwi'n gallu siarad Saesneg. I'll turn to the English now. I don't do it very often, but I will today because Alice has presented this through the medium of English. I'll read it out to you. All of you who have used the road past the T3 Inn from Borrowithen, known as Ronald's Way Town, towards Both Crossroads on the Rhyddlen to Abigail Strait, will be aware that part nearest to houses is single-lane road with quite a sharp bend on it, and a pedestrian crossing very close to the entry and exit entrances. The residents have parked on this road for decades. I can prove that. I've been there. As there is no access to the rear of any of these properties, consequently no other place to park. There is a weight restriction along the length of this very busy road, which in my view and those with residents must be imposed much stricter. The company has stated they will use 18-ton vehicles, and road has a limit of 7 to 5 weight ton limit. Because this is a problem throughout the county. Where are the people who are supposed to control that rule? The company have acknowledged many points, but not this one. Unless a planning condition is placed upon this application, the temptation by them will not to try and make a quick turn to the right, they think there, isn't it? To the right, isn't it, David? Rather than narrow road, which myself and residents believe would constitute a danger to others, drivers and pedestrians. Therefore, she asks what a restriction on the delivery of lorries when using Romsey from Borth Road Crossway, the best and safest ways to enter and exit the new developed site from the direction of Abigail Road. On existing lorries must turn left, so they will enter back onto Abigail Road and turn right towards Little Road past the church onto the A55, otherwise turn left towards Abigail. All much safer options. Dwi'n falch o ddeud bod yr swyddogion yn hynt wedi cytuno efo'r amod yma, a lle dwi'n ei gyflwyno fo ger bron chi ar ran y cynghorydd Alice Jones.
Ydych chi'n cynnig rhywbeth?
Dwi'n cynnig bod chi'n derbyn yr amod yna.
Os yw rhywun yn eilio, cynghorydd Mary Lloyd Davies yn eilio. Councillor Barry Mellor, please.
Yeah, I don't want to labour that. Our has covered everything. I think if we put a condition during construction that vehicles do turn left, and I'd be favour of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynghorydd Mary Lloyd Davies.
Diolch yn fawr, Sgwyddi. Jyst cadarnhau beth sy'n cael ei ddeud. Os da chi rioed i bod yma, mae o'n le prysur ofnadwy. Mae yna siope ar y chwith o'r cynllun, ac mae hwnna'n le difrifol i fynd fewn ag allan ohono fo. A'r cyngor sy'n rhannol yn y broblem yna. Ond dwi'n cydweld yn hollol, a dwi'n meddwl yr unig ffordd da ni'n mynd i gadw hwn rhag digwydd, a da ni wedi clywed y cais cynt, pwy sy'n edrych ar ôl y broblem yma. Os allwn ni'n neud o bod y lori'n garfod dod o'r de a troi'r dde i mewn i'r ail o flaen y dafarn, na dellir, os daw i'r ffordd arall, mae'n methu troi, wneud yn siŵr bod ti'n dod y ffordd iawn, os da chi'n dabod y feddwl. Da chi'n medru gwneud yn ydach y ffordd i mewn fel, wel, allai mi troi, mae rhy fawr, i'r rhaid mi ddod o'r pen arall. Dyna un ffordd, ac os ydych chi'n gwneud hynny, achos mae'n andros o brysur yna. Mae'n barcio nis lawr fel mae Alice wedi ddeud. Ac i rywun sydd wedi bod yna, fysa chi'n cydweld a rhoi amod cry iawn ynglyn â hynny, neu fyddwn mewn trafferthion. Mae'n siŵr nad oes ddim ffigurau yn dweud faint sydd wedi lladd yno, mae gennau ond di rhaid ni aros i rwy'n gael ei ladd gyntaf cyn da ni'n gwneud rhywbeth?
Officers, would you like to answer those three observations and questions, please, first?
Okay, I'll just try and clarify a few points. Highways have been involved with this application from an early stage and have asked for additional information during the process. This included a safety audit carried out by an independent third party. Following the safety audit, the plans were amended slightly and hence we are satisfied with suitable conditions being recommended the proposal would be acceptable. I could understand the concerns raised by the Town Council regarding the existing highway network and access arrangements. However, it would be very difficult to defend a reasonable refusal on highway grounds, and again, we do not consider that the proposals would have an unacceptable impact on the highway network. I'll just give you a couple of figures as well, okay, because we always go on about it's busy down there, yeah? We've got figures that show at the peak hour on that road outside the site, which may be between, say, 5 and 6 in the evening, there would be 277 vehicles both way. Okay, yeah? Both way. That sounds a lot, doesn't it? Yeah. But when you put it into perspective of, say, every minute, there would be 5 every minute, okay? Now, if you count a minute and watch 5 vehicles go past, it's not busy, okay, in highway terms, okay? So that's just something to bear in mind. We also mentioned the weight restriction, okay? Now, the weight restriction, that weight restriction is there to stop rat running for large vehicles going from Borth roundabout to Abergavenny Road, Bodelwyddan, okay? Now, legally, any commercial vehicle can access this road for conveyance of persons, goods and merchandise to any premises, yeah, or agriculture, building operation, demolition, maintenance, okay? That's legally what they can do. So legally, HGVs can access the site, so we've just got to clear that up as well. I accept the condition imposed that if members were minded to grant it, we could include that condition. I think that's been accepted. So from a highway point of view, we feel that the scheme is acceptable in its current form, and that's where we're at with it, if that's okay. I'll answer any more questions if I can.
David, please.
Just to clarify in relation to the condition, it was mentioned about it being for the control of construction traffic, but I would think that from the reading of the email, it would be for delivery traffic as well, in terms of controlling vehicles that are larger. I think that's the key concern here. So the onus would be put on the applicant to advise how they wish to control that, because there's been so that they've got the mechanism that's going to work for them as well, but would be looking to control it that they turn left out of the site and not down onto Ronald's Way and go on the more appropriate routes for the large vehicles.
I'll just add to that, because there was a discussion about enforcement in the last debate. I think it got mentioned in this debate. As in all planning conditions that you put on, they're not necessarily breaches of highway regulations, a planning condition. So you have planning controls, you can serve a breach of condition notice. If there's evidence, two things you have to be satisfied with. There's evidence that the condition's being breached, and there's evidence that that breach is causing some element of harm. And if there is, then we can serve a breach of condition notice, and that goes to the magistrate's court. And if they carry on breaching that condition, they'll get fined in the magistrate's court. So I'm satisfied there's appropriate controls in place. If there's evidence that the condition is being breached, and if we're satisfied that that breach is having a material harm that would justify taking something to court. So, to answer the question, yes, we can enforce those conditions and the suggested condition that's been proposed and seconded. Thank you, Chair.
I have two more speakers. Councillor Dewi Owen, Councillor Sgwlch
Diolch, David. With respect to the restriction of width limit of 7.5 tonne, where does that actually start from? Because if it started from the other side of the Tirri there, down, well, that's fair enough. You'd have your 18 tonne. I mean, 18 tonne today is not a very big vehicle as compared with the 32, 42 tonne vehicles. But I think that could be, if it's already at the top end here by the Abergele Road, then it needs to be moved to that side so that there is legal to that.
I'll just clarify the traffic order, okay, the weight restriction. Any vehicle over 7.5 tonne can access premises down that road for goods, persons, agriculture, okay? Yeah? It's for access is allowed, so they wouldn't be breaking that restriction. So, it's purely to stop rat running by large vehicles through from the roundabout on Abergele Road to the old A55, just to clarify that point. So, moving it wouldn't really, in effect, have make any difference to.
And the last two more speakers. After Councillor Merrick Davies, we'll go to the vote. Cynghorydd Bill Cowie, gyntaf.
Yeah. As it happens, Mr Park has answered the question that I wanted to ask.
Thank you. Cynghorydd Merrick Lloyd Davies.
Wedi sylwi rhywbeth ar amod 2, mae yna restr o wahanol bethau fanne yn cymeradwyo y cynllun sydd wedi dod i mewn. Felly, os ydyn ni'n gofyn apyn bach mwy o gynllun yn dangos sut mae'r lori mynd i ddod i mewn ac allan, mae eisiau bod yn ofalus be da ni'n gymeradwyo ynglyn â existing site plan, proposed site plan ac yn y blaen. Bod ni'n deud, wel, a ni edrych ar hwn, awrach fi angen rhyw newidiad. Rhag ofn bod ni'n rhaid hynny mewn twll ac yn methu gwneud dim wedyn hefo y cyfeillion i ddeud, wel, dwch o ddyle bod chi'n gwneud hyn i gadw'r loriau wrth nhw ddod i mewn. Os nwch chi sylwi hefyd ar y llun, da chi'n sylwi bod chi'n dod i mewn ag allan, os dwi'n cofio'n iawn, yn y rhan yma, ddim yn y llall. Ond wedi cael llall os dwi'n cofio'n iawn, ond os ym llun. Ond os nwch chi sylwi, mae'n gas yn y ffordd, yn dydi, ond mae'n y fanne a fanne. A dwi'n meddwl bod ni'n gwneud hynny flynyddoedd yn ôl am bod ti mor berig yn yr llall, yr radwy arall. Mae'r radwy arall yn agos iawn, os ydych edrych ar y cynllun, mae'n dro yn y ffordd, a maen nhw'n dod, mae'n hwmp yn y ffordd, dwi'n gwybod, wwan, crwmp yn deg, ia. Ond maen nhw'n gallu dod rownd y tro yn y rei sydyn, ac pan da chi'n dod yn y pen arall, allan o ddawch chi gyn chi gyrraedd hyd yn oed y ffordd. Ond jyst gofyn yn garedig ynglyn â'r cynlluniau da ni'n barod i ddeud bod nhw'n iawn.
David, I'd like to clarify, and then we've had a proposition and a second, and then we'll go to the vote, please.
Okay, just to try and tie things up, we've with this application. In terms of the general safety concerns, as Mike has said, there's been a lot of liaison with the applicants in this instance. They've done the road safety audit, so as far as the information that's been provided, it's a very thorough submission, and we've come to conclusions with the appropriate controls that it's acceptable from a highways perspective, and that's the recommendation of officers. In terms of minor tweaks to the application, there's a mechanism called a non-material amendment that they could come back in with a fairly straightforward type of application and make those minor tweaks in order to, if anything like the layout requires tweaking, then they can do that through a simple formal process.
Go to the vote, please.
Cadeirydd, gan nhw wneud y gwahanol... Sorry. Mae geiriad yn bwysig. Gan nhw wneud y newidiadau, medde...
Cynghorydd yma pedwerydd gwaith...
Mae ddrwg gynnau, ond mae yna gangymeriad yn y dywediad. Y ni sy'n gofyn yn garedig i ni fedru newid, i gael nhw fewn yn iawn, ddim yr un sy'n gwneud y cais.
Go to the vote, please, David. Mr Mead.
Okay, thank you, Chair. It will be a plus to grant with the additional condition in relation to the applicant supplying a mechanism to show how they can turn left out the site in terms of the deliveries. It will be minus to refuse. So plus to grant with the condition, minus to refuse. If we clear the board, and all vote now, please.
In favour of the application 18, abstentions nil, against nil, total voting 18. That application has been granted. I've got two more applications which I feel I should go through first before we have a break, then we'll come back to the special reports. So I will carry on now with agenda item number 6. Llanarmon yn Iar, Llandegla, Councillor Martin Hollands, the ward member, application 15, 2015. Pardon? Yeah.
Yes.
15 stroke 0629 stroke PF. The proposal is for the erection of a replacement detached garage. Location is at Glant Lane, in Mould, and the applicant is Mr Matthew Jones. The officer's recommendation is to grant. Councillor Martin Holland, as a ward member, have you anything to say?
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I've no real objections to this particular proposal. The Community Council, of which I am a member, and can I state here for the record that when I attend Llanarmon y Iar Community Council, I don't actually take any part in the planning deliberations, but by sitting there you can actually hear what is actually the view of the council. I think the only major, or if it's a major one, concern was the size of this particular garage, but if you look at the plot itself, it is a fair size area, but the garage is nearly sort of 2/3 the size of the floor space of the actual house. So I just sort of bring that to your attention. But other than that, I have no major objections. As the officers rightly say, you know, the Community Council has some concerns about the future development of this, but reality is, if there was any future development, it would have to come before this council for, you know, if it was to be converted into something else. And the A&B committee have recommended or suggested that the building be stone-faced in line with all the other buildings in that particular area. But that is only a suggestion. It is not a, you know, a formal statement of fact.
Any speakers? Cynghorydd Mary Lloyd Davies.
Chwarae teg i'r aelod lleol mae wedi rhoi'r wybodaeth i ni. Oes mor e amod fod yr modurdy'n cael ei ddefnyddio dim ond fel modurdy. Dwi'n cofio rwy'n arall yn codi yn ochr Rhuthun, ond be oedd yn gadw yna o hen foduron hen iawn a rhag yn nhw rydu ac yn y blaen oedd o'n cadw waliau cynnes iawn yn yr adeilad. Ond rhag on, tybed oes angen rhoi amod, ynglyn â'r garreg, wel dwi ostad yn gofyn am garreg os oes modd gael o, a wrach fasol yn syniad rhoi pyn bach o garreg yn ei wyneb o, fel bod chi'n edrych arno fo o'r ffordd, a bod o'n dwt ac yn daclus.
Any more speakers? Is anybody moving anything? Cynghorydd Hilditch and Cynnig, and Councillor Jones seconded. David, please, before we go to the vote.
Keep it as quick as possible. The conditioning of the use, if it's a residential building, it's not appropriate to condition the use. It wouldn't meet the circular tests because another use would require planning permission in itself. So it's another application. You'll note from the plans as well in terms of the stone, that's already indicated on the plans.
Thank you, David. But it's been proposed by Councillor Hilditch Roberts that we accept, and Councillor Merrick Davis has seconded. To the vote, please, Mr. Roberts, or Mr. Meath, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. It's going to be plus to grant in accordance with the officer recommendation, minus to refuse. If we clear the board, please, and all vote now. Thank you.
In favour of the application 17, abstentions nil, against nil, total vote 17. That application has been granted. And the last application in front of us this morning is Prestatyn East Ward. Ward members Councillor Julian Thompson-Hill and Councillor Nanton Sampson. Application number 43/2015/1112/PF. The proposal is the change of use of former nursing/residential care home into 5 self-contained dwellings. The location is Highcroft Residential Care Home, 49 Highbury Avenue, Prestatyn. The applicant is Mr. Norman Duff, and the officer's recommendation is to grant. Councillor Julian Thompson-Hill. Or Anton. Anton. Sorry. Welcome to the committee, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I apologise.
It's okay. I've visited this address, had a look around it, and one of the proposals by some of the officers was to actually demolish the rear end of it to make more space for parking. I think we'd all agree that with the lack of housing at the moment, I think shelter is probably a bit more important than a few parking spaces. I think previously there were about 12 or 15 residents in it, and now there's only going to be 5. Some of the language used was slightly woolly. I'm not going to go into people's names, but to paraphrase, one of the sentences I read was that the sizes for accommodation barely meet the current standards. Well, they either do or they don't. So I think that needs to be picked up on in future. I have no problem with it, having looked around it, and I don't know if Julian has anything to add. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Julian Thompson-Hill.
Yep, thank you very much, Chair. I won't go over what Anton just said. As I say, the chief objection raised by residents was in terms of primarily in terms of parking and things like that. But this was a former nursing home which had staff members coming to and fro, visitors to and fro. And I don't believe that this proposal would actually constitute any worse of a position than actually was there beforehand. So I would move officer's recommendation to grant.
It's been moved by Councillor Julian Thompson-Hill. Seconder, Councillor Barry Mellor. Rhys Hughes, eisiau gair.
Boys, please. Just a little bit of clarification. I notice here that on page 91, the affordable housing, and just clarification I want. So let's get this straight. That if there's less than 10 properties, I just remember what we've done in Glenduffy on 1. Less than 10 properties, we now take a commuted sum. So I can't remember when we actually passed that, because we used to have 30%, didn't it? We dropped it to 10, but on the numbers. So it's now up. So if somebody builds 10 houses, it's 10%, and it's a commuted sum.
We'll get an answer for you now.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Cynghorydd Meiread Lloyd Davies.
Just cynnig yn ofalus, byddwch chi yn cael swrs am yr adnabioedd o ddefadu, wrach na fydd o ddim yn cyd-ffurfio o ran y ffordd ma.
Golas, gwelwch yn dda.
Mae'n ddrwg gynnau. Mae'n ddrwg gynnau. Dwi'n werth gwrando am
Reid eto, sgwrs
a croeso. Jyst hynny sylw swyddogion i gael gair efo'r adran rheolaeth adeiladu. Dwi'n mynd teimlo bod y ffordd mae'r stafella wedi gosod yn cyd-yn-ffurfio ar reolaeth. Jyst rhywbeth i un o feddwl amdano.
Any more speakers? If not, officers, please, and then we'll go to the vote.
Thank you, Chair. The application has been amended from its original submission. We did have a bit of concern about the size of some of the units in here, and so obviously I think the officers were keen to make sure that the space standards that you've got within your supplementary planning guidance were met. So the scheme's been amended, and we're happy with the space standards now. Obviously, it's a site within a development boundary here. Your affordable housing policy and guidance basically says that where you've got a scheme, there's obviously less than 10. Where you've got a scheme of 10, we'll obviously look for one of the units on site because you can do that. Where it's less than 10, we look for a commuted sum payment in relation to, and this is what would apply here. So we're imposing a condition to make sure that the applicant gives us the appropriate commuted sum towards affordable housing. I think in relation to affordable housing here, we've got to accept that there is a need for this type of housing in this part of Prestatyn as well. So it's meeting our policies and guidance in relation to your local development plan. The recommendation is fairly clear to grant here, Chair, so we can probably move to the vote if that's okay. It's going to be plus to grant in accordance with the officer recommendation, minus to refuse. If we clear the board and all vote now. Thank you.
In favour of the recommendation, 17. Abstentions, nil. Against, nil. Total voting 17. That application has been granted. Shall we take a 15-minute break and return at nearly 11:30, please, for the special reports? Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Rick. Well done, Chair. Mike. You're done now, Mike. Don't need any more now.
I think the issue there, so the point of view that you could have forward line about that.
Oh, no, don't bother me. They make the decision. What I'll do next week, I'll put it now that the matters finished, because it's not finished.
Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for allowing me to quickly speak. As you all know, a little while ago we had an application in relation to sheds or huts in the woods at Big Covert. Can I just thank this committee and the officers for their support on this particular issue, and on behalf of the people of Maeshaven and Llanferris, thank you very much. As you will appreciate, you'll have seen in your emails this morning that they went to appeal, and I must admit I was always surprised why somebody would want to go to an appeal just to have a shed for the tools, but anyway, that's another story. They went to appeal and the inspector has thrown it out. So that is good news for the people of Maeshaven and the Big Covert, but I think it is also good news for the county in relation to all the forestry and woodland that we have, because it has now given a clear indication of what the Welsh planning authorities believe in relation, or inspectorate believe in relation to these sorts of developments in woodland. I will be coming at some stage with another motion asking for some changes to the particular policy on permitted developments, in the sense that I think they should be at least limited to woodlands in the region of 50 acres or more. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Martin Holland.
Thank you very much.
Special report. There is one additional item, 14 now. As you know, the fees have been introduced for planning applications, etc., etc. And Mr. Paul Mead, at the end of the special report, will just give a brief introduction as to the method and the fees position. Right. I'd like to welcome Councillor David Smith and also Angela Loftus to come and talk about the special reports. And the first item is number 10, which is Tynant Prestatyn development brief, and the recommendation is that members adopt the proposed site development brief for Tynant attached as Appendix 1 with recommended changes for the determination of planning applications and planning appeals. I'll ask Councillor David Smith to introduce the reports, please.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd. Bore da, pawb. You have in front of you on item 10, 11 and 12 various aspects of site development briefs or supplementary planning guidance. I'll just go through the process, if I may, just to remind you what the process is with all of these. They start off by going to the LDP steering group. The LDP steering group go through them to ensure that they're right. We usually have the local member involved in that LDP steering group to make sure there are no local issues or whatever. They then go through to you as a planning committee, and at planning committee we ask you if you agree that we would go out to public consultation. Once you give us that agreement, there is an 8-week consultation process in most cases. Then, following that, the consultation process, the comments are taken into account, they're put into a report along with a brief, and then they come back to you today or any planning committee for your approval. And that's the process, and it's worth reiterating that at the start of this process. So the first of the three, is the site development brief for Tynant Prestatyn. This one has actually been in front of you. You gave it permission or okayed it to go out for public consultation. I'm pleased to say it's been out to public consultation. The report you have in front of you gives the details of that consultation. There are 37 written responses, 46 were placed on maps at the drop-in sessions, and all of those have been taken into account. They can all be found in Appendix 2 of your paperwork in front of you. To further help you, you will see that the changes in the document as a consequence of that public consultation are highlighted as shown in paragraph 4.8. Either they've had a line through them or they've been highlighted. That's all I've got to say on that particular one, so I'll take over to Angela if she has anything to add, and then ask you for any comments. Angela, please.
Thank you. Bore da. Good morning. I think David's probably covered everything pretty much. We did a pretty wide-ranging consultation. We had 4 drop-in sessions, and we leafleted about 500 business properties and houses within the area. So we had very good attendance. About 200 people attended the drop-in sessions. We had good response rate, number of written responses, as David has highlighted, and also people putting stickers on maps, which worked really, really well. So very pleased with the level of response, and as has been highlighted, that's set out in the consultation report, and we've made changes to reflect those comments that we've received throughout the consultation. So I'm happy to answer any questions any members have got on that. Thank you.
Any questions? Cynghorydd Mary Gloyd Davies.
Cyfawr. Jyst rwy'ch chydig bach o bethau ma'n dweud y gwir, mae o'n gynhwysfor iawn. Yn y Gymraeg, fas i'n hoffi gweld y to bach yn ei le bob tro. Mae o ar wyneb ddalen, ond pen da chi'n dod i mewn i'r darlleniad, mae o'n mynd ar goll. Tŷ yn un, tŷ a to bach arno felly. Ar tudalen 128, dwi'n siŵr di hwn ddigon cry 5.1 neu 6 ydi o, dwi'n siŵr mae'n ddau i dymchwel. A dwi'n cyd-weld efo'r llyfrgell, hen adeilad, 60, 70, hyll, eisiau dynnu lawr. Ond da chi'n sôn wedyn am rhan o'r hen swyddfa o gyda ni fel cyngor. Tybed sy'n eisiau dweud hen swyddfeydd y cyngor yn fanno, a hefyd cadarnhau bod chi'n cadw yr adeilad gwreiddiol. Mae gennych chi ddyn ohono fo yn dangos yr hen swyddfeydd y sir a hen swyddfeydd cyngor bwrdeistref Rhuddlan sy'n gwynebu ffordd Llys yn Ant sydd yn dangos i'w hoed ag yn y blaen. A un peth bach arall, os ydych chi'n sylwi pan ydych chi'n mynd i'r maes parcio, mae neddrysau yn dod o gefn gerddi y tei preifat sy'n taro ar yr maes parcio. Beth yw'r sefyllfa gyfreithiol hefo ni? Hefo nhw? Ydyn nhw wedi derbyn nhw am bod neu gais gan nhw gerdded lle fyna nhw wrth agor y drws? Neu da ni wedi dweud, na, mae'n dir preifat, gewch chi ddim defnyddio'r drws neu. Chos os da ni werthu o, a mae gen nhw ganiatad i ddod ar y tir, mae hwnna'n mynd i achosi trafferth i'r prynwr yn dydi.
Councillor Julian Thompson Hill.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just, if I can, without treading on Angela's toes probably, on just in connection with Councillor Merrick Davies' point there about 6 to 8 Nanthall Road, which I think he was referring to. It was part of it was an amendment on the original draft that came to us that the original frontage onto Nanthall Road itself would be protected, retained, whatever the phrase is. This solely relates to probably I'll choose my words carefully, but the particularly unaesthetic old 70s extension at the rear of the building, which really doesn't contribute much to anything in terms of visual amenity, I would have thought. So that's the element of it that's actually being referred to. Just in terms of my own comments, it has been a very comprehensive study that's been carried out to get us to this stage, and I think that the report does fairly represent the representations that have been made to date. So I would be happy to move that we adopt the proposed site development plan.
Anyone seconding it? Councillor Bob Murray seconding. Any further questions? Councillor Bob Murray.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to thank Andrew and their team for the consultation. It's carried out absolutely brilliantly. I'm pleased to see that in the comments in the document are comments from Prestatyn Town Council, police and other interested parties in taking over TNAT. Thank you very much.
No further questions? Angela, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you. Councillor Julian Thompson-Hill has already addressed the issue of retention of 6 to 8 Nanthall Road. So the brief does say that frontage should be kept, and potentially the council chamber if that's possible. The brief is fairly flexible because it allows for demolition of the existing council building, the library, other buildings on the site, but it does also allow for their attention if a suitable scheme comes forward. So we are trying to give that level of flexibility to allow for proposals which may come forward. So it's dependent on viability. You also mentioned the gates, the access gates from the properties in Glyn Avenue, and certainly that was something a lot of the residents raised, Glyn Avenue residents raised with us. And historically they've been there some time, because I understand that it used to be there were allotments there originally and people used to use that as an access to the main high street from the rear of the properties. It's certainly something my property colleagues are looking at, but we have suggested that there should be a landscape buffer anyway to the rear of those properties because they're concerned about the impact on their views and so on, and that would still allow for retention of those rear accesses.
Thank you. Well, it's been proposed by Councillor Julian Thompson-Hill and seconded by Bob Murray. Councillor Bob Murray, that we adopt the recommendation. Could we please clear the board, please? And plus for acceptance and minus against. Please vote now. In favour of the recommendation 18, abstentions nil, against nil, total of votes 18. That recommendation has been accepted. We shall now go on to agenda item number 11, and it is to consider it's a renewable energy supplementary planning guidance consultation draft, and to consider a report seeking approval of the draft supplementary planning guidance on renewable energy as a basis for public consultation. And there's a copy attached, obviously. Angela, anything? No. Oh, sorry. Oh, I've got two wings here, you know.
Just keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, right there, keeping me on my toes, yes.
Right, this is the strategic planning guidance for renewable energy, and as per the statement I said earlier, this is the second part of that process. The document has in fact gone in front of the LDP steering group. They've had a look at it. They've made their comments. The document in front of you here now is ready for public consultation, unless of course you have something to add or change within that document. So really we're looking for your permission to go out to public consultation with this particular document. Thank you.
Members, any questions? Cynghori Meirig Lloyd Davies.
Cynnig bod o'n mynd yn ei flaen.
Cynnig bod o'n cael ei gynnig. Rwy'n yn eilio? Julian. Any questions? Appears not. Go to the vote then, please.
All against.
Clear the board. Clear the board, please. We've conked out. There we are. Please vote now, plus for the recommendation, minus against. In favour of the recommendation 17, abstentions nil, against 1, total 18. That has been accepted. Item number 12 is consultation draft site development brief for land adjoining former HM Stanley Hospital St Asaph. To consider a report seeking approval of the draft site development brief for the allocated housing site adjoining the former HM Stanley Hospital in St Asaph, and the accompanying strategic environmental assessment screening document for public consultation. Again, copy attached. Councillor David Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I think you've said it all. That it's straightforward enough. It's part of the process. It's there in front of you, and we are asking if it's happy for you to go out for public consultation.
Cynghorydd Rhys Hughes.
Just to, I notice on page 311, somebody just give a little bit of Egyptian traveller's site out of this. Just a little bit of feedback on that and where this is going. Gypsy and traveller's site.
I'll take...
There's no Egyptian. Sorry.
Before I ask Angela to respond, I'll take 3 questions at a time. Next report. You jumped the gun, Rhys.
Yeah, Rhys, sorry, that question will be pertinent to the next item.
Next one.
Item 13, the LDP annual report. I'm sorry.
Cynghorydd...
I'm very excited because
Cynghorydd Mary Gloyd Davies.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Tudalen 264, da ni ar y papur yma, dwi'n credu, 4.11 ydi o. O'n i'n edrych ar hwn ynglyn â'r adeilad cofrestredig, ond dwi wedi bod yn trio plota, mae giat sydd wedi chofrestru ar y tir yma, mae'n giat arbennig hen yno, dda ni dynnu sylw at hyn pen oedd y cynllunio ar blaenau ni. Ond dwi'n siŵr a bod fi wedi fethu o, mae'n dipyn o waith darllen, a dwi'n siŵr wneud Angela fedru deud, yda ni wedi deud bod rhaid i hwnnw gael ei adfer ac yn y blaen. Ac un peth bach arall oedd yn ddiddorol i mi, 274, 5.22, flood risk. I rywun sy'n gwybod lle mae'r lle yma. Mae darllen y trydydd linell yn ogleisio iawn. 274, 5.22, llifogydd. Ac yn y Saesneg, yn y trydydd linell, mae'n deud, considered to be a little or no risk to fluvial or coastal tidal flooding. Os da chi'n gwybod lle mae o, dyna fod.
Cynghorydd Dewi Owen, sgwrch dda.
Yes, Chair. This page, I've lost it now because I was looking at my rigs, but...
Must have good influence on you.
Yeah, on page 257, the development is the one around the HM Stanley, not the development itself, isn't it? I know it's coming into it, or part of it will come into it as well. But, and also, the one other thing that I have, that I don't know where I bring it up, but I feel I should bring it up here, is that they've named this as Livingston Place. And there's lots of objections from the local people to the name. And I feel that, it needs to be addressed. I don't know whether this...
No, I had that, and I was going to bring it up as well. Quite a few people have come along saying, very concerned at the name Livingston Place. However, Cynghorydd Arwel Roberts.
Wel, dim ond i eilio, Cynghorydd Dewi Owens. Be di'r polisi sy'n gan y sir? Pwy sy'n penderfynu beth yw enw rhyw fath o ddatblygiad tai? Enghraifft, yn Rhydlan acw, mi ofynnwyd i ni beth o'n i eisiau fe enw, a wrthon ni enwau bobl lleol sydd wneud ymdrech dda i ddatblygu Rhydlan dros y blynyddoedd. Enghraifft, cyn brifathro Eilwyn Morgan, dyna un enw roes i ger bron. Ond yr datblygwyr ei hun oedd yn penderfynu yn y diwedd, a roi enw Clos David Owen yno fo. Felly, gesson ni, doedd nhw'n gwrando ar y bobl leol. Mae hyn yn allan wendid yno ni, be di enwau datblygiad tai. Dwi'n sgynau byd yn erbyn Livingston, ond diolch, dydy o'n lleol na di.
Cynghorydd Bill Cowis, gwelwch y dda.
Yes, thank you, Chair. When that name went up, I was approached by some of the public in St Asset, and I made inquiries with County Hall, and I was told that they cannot name houses or number them or the streets without they go through the proper legislation. So there has to be a consultation regarding the rules and regulations, and I'm open to criticism from somebody that knows better. Thank you.
Angela, please. I'll come. Angela, please answer those first.
Right, thank you very much. I think perhaps the first thing to do is clarify what site we're talking about in this site development brief. It's not the old hospital site, and that's been given the name that members have concerns about, and I know local residents have concerns about it. So it's the land to the south and to the rear of the old hospital site. So it's greenfields at the moment. It's not actually the hospital, and that's shown on page 257. There's a plan which outlines the site area that's covered by the development brief. So just to be clear on that. The other points raised were about listed buildings on site. Obviously this development, we do need to bear in mind there are listed buildings next to the site. There aren't actually on this site. So any development here would have to take account of those listed buildings, and that is clarified within the development brief. That's paragraph 5.18, which talks about the listed buildings there. The other issue that members are concerned about goes back to this naming issue. We have covered that in the development brief. There is a paragraph on Welsh language and culture, and we are saying that development proposals should seek to use locally relevant Welsh names for streets and for the development as a whole as a minimum. Now, members may want to beef that up a little bit, but we're trying to make it clear in the development brief for the site that this covers that they should be using Welsh names.
Where did you say that?
That's paragraph 5.14 in the development brief.
Can I just come in? Angela, I don't know whether it was a question or not, but Catherine Mary Davies about the flooding, the issue of flood at paragraph 5, I can't remember what it was, 5 point something. Whether I'm not sure it was a question, but you some clarification about
wording.
Yeah. Okay. And is there something about the naming in terms of Councillor Bill Cowie's point about a separate council policy separate to this around naming of streets and developments? Do we know?
Councillor Bill Cowie.
Yeah, the information I was given, and I can't for the life of me remember who I spoke to in County Hall, but they assured me that nothing can be done about that aspect until it's gone through legal. It's a regulation issued by the lawmakers that consultation's got to be done with the public, the county and other interested parties. So that Livingston is something that they've plucked out the air, the builders. Yeah.
Angela, please.
Just clarify, I think.
Right, yeah, just to clarify in relation to flood risk, this isn't actually in an area of flood risk, so that's made clear in the development brief. The policy I think Councillor Bill Cowie is referring to is street naming policy. As far as I'm no expert on it at all.
Could I help you there?
I don't know all the ins and outs, but there is a street naming and numbering policy which was adopted, I think, in the last 2 years or so. So, but someone needs to look at that, don't they?
Sorry, wait a minute. Sorry. Angela, all right? Oh, yeah. Councillor Dewi Owen.
It's not so much the street names, is it, this? It's the actual development name, Livingston Place. So, and I'd like to have clarification as to that, please, and how that happens. Because I, like Bill, had made inquiries, and I have an email here, if I could find it, saying exactly, you know, exactly what Bill has said about the street names and that.
So, all right.
All we'll do, we'll draw it to the attention of the relevant council department and they'll follow that up. But fundamentally, if you want to call a development something, Livingston Close or Livingston Development or whatever it might be, and the roads and the numbering of the streets all need council consent. So there's a process to go through. It's not part of the planning department, it's not part of the planning brief. It's obviously of a concern to local member, understand that. We'll make it relevant to the. We'll draw it to the attention of the relevant department in the council, who will then follow that up with the developer to make sure the developer goes through the appropriate processes. Thank you.
Before I continue, Councillor David Smith, come in.
Councillors, may I remind you, this is out for public consultation. If you don't like anything, then say it. Go out when it goes out to public consultation, and they have their opening days and all the rest of it, with officers there to explain it. That is when local councillors, I'm sure, will gee up their local people and say, well, if you don't like the name, now's the time to say it. That's why we're going out to public consultation. If there's a swell of people who don't like it, then I would think it would be highly unlikely for it to go forward. That is why we're doing what we're doing.
Thank you. Cynghorydd Rhys Hughes, ti eisiau ddod i fewn?
I apologise for just bringing this. Just widen this naming thing up. Just give you. We're on time. Just widen this.
No, there's another meeting shortly.
Okay. Well, I'll just give you an example of how things. The neighbouring county Wrexham built an estate a number of years ago, and this will really intrigue Arwyl, because the road leading into the estate is called Rhydlan Road. A house was knocked down. A bungalow was knocked down not far from where I live, and a house was built there in its place. It's now called Bramble Cottage. I think we need to look in the future at how things are named in this county, and you've said you're going to look into it, and I thank you for that.
Cynghorydd Joan Butterfield, Ysgol Cymraeg.
Thank you, Chairman. There is certainly a street naming policy in existence because we all participated in that just a couple of years ago or so. I recall that quite well. But there's also a procedure in place that any street naming in any particular community goes to the town and community councils for consultation. And all ours in Frill in the past, I've got to say, have arrived in town council, and there has been a debate on the names. Usually the names are Welsh, and of course along with the policy that's in place, but it does come for consultation to your town and community councils, and if not, we should be considering asking through our department chair, asking the clerks to adhere to the policy and to request a debate with members on every street naming. But we do that in Frill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions ar y development brief?
Ia, dwi'n falch iawn o weld y 5.14 i mewn, dwi'n meddwl bod hwnna yn ardderchog. Jyst i gael cefndir i'r enw yma, y broblem ydy bod gennym ni adran sydd ddim yn yr adran gynllunio erbyn heddiw.
Ga i ddweud wan, mae Mr Bowes has given us a guarantee that he's going to pursue this with the department. So
Ia, ond dydy'r cyngor ddim yn cael clywed beth sgynna i ddeud, Mr Cadeirydd, gyda phob parch. Y peth sgynna i ddeud ydy, mae'r adran wedi mynd oddi wrth y adran cynllunio a rheolaeth adeiladu i'r adeilad yma, felly dydyn nhw ddim yn gweld y ceisiadau sy'n dod i mewn. Does gynna ni ddim hawl i ddeud wrth yr adeiladydd be mae'n mynd i alw i'w safle, ond mae gynna ni ynglyn â strydoedd ac yn y blaen. Ond y broblem ydy, pan fydd y bobl ma'n prynu i'w tai, a fyddwn ni'n deud, da ni eisiau'r enw yma, o na, da chi'n cael hwnna, dwi'n newid brynu'r tŷ, mae o ar Livingston Close. Dwi eisiau'r enw, ne? Yr amser da ni'n dod i mewn, unwaith mae'r cais yn dod i mewn, mae'r adeiladydd ar y safle, gyrru llythyr yn deud, newch chi gofio bod y polisi yma mewn bod. ond dyn nhw'n gwneud, mae gennau o. Maen nhw'n aros i beth y ddigwydd, a di digwydd hefo amlosgfa sy'n lawr y ffordd lle dwi'n byw, ac yn y blaen. Felly, mae gennau o, Mr Cadeirydd, mae rhaid i ni ofyn i'r adran sydd wedi cael ei symud o adran y prif swyddog i rhywle arall i nhw ddechrau.
Any more questions? Councillor Wyn Mullen-James.
With respect, Chair, this is not what this item is about. We're about a consultation draft for a site development brief for Dayton Stanley Hospital. Can we vote on that, please?
Thank you. Any more questions? Councillor Dewi-White.
Chair, I'm a little bit disturbed in respect that I sent in an email to ask to have clarification on this, and now I hear that I would have thought that email would have sparked off bells and that would have been taken to somewhere else. As Mr Graham Bowes said this morning to us, that why didn't it be taken up from when that email that I sent in was taken up to have a look at it? I understand you don't know, but I understand, there is something wrong in the system that should have been clarified somewhere.
Right, can we stick to the brief, please? And can we, any more questions on the development brief? Sorry?
Cynnig bod o'n mynd allan.
Cynnig bod o'n mynd allan. Os yw rhywun yn eilio, diolch yn fawr, Rhys di eilio. Awn ni'r bleidlais os gwelwch y dda. Can we clear the board, please? In favour of the recommendation 18, abstentions nil, against nil, total 18. The recommendation has been accepted. And we now go to the last one, agenda item number 13. And it is the David Smith, you want to take on the LDP?
Yeah, thank you for this guy. Right, thank you, Chair. I'm sure, as a planning committee, you're all familiar with the LDP and you've read it from cover to cover, and you know it back to front. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Anyway, one of the requirements of the LDP was that we produce an annual report, and this report that you have in front of you here has to be sent to Welsh Government by the 31st of October. And it relates to the period April the 1st, 2014 to March the 31st, 2015. There are 8 sections to it, which are listed on page 296, plus 2 appendices. We are asking you to note the report, because the decision for this will come through Cabinet. The LDP steering group have had sight of it. They have been aware of this report all the way through. It's there to be looked at, there to be commented on, and at this stage it is only a draft. So I would ask you please for any comments or any statements that you wish to have or clarification you wish to have on this document prior to it going to Cabinet for approval on the 27th of October. Thank you.
Cynghorydd Arwyn Roberts.
Wrth gwrs, mae gennau ddiddordeb mawr yn y iaith Gymraeg, a fel amryw arall yma dwi'n siŵr. Mae'n dda gweld bod yr iaith Gymraeg wedi cynyddu. Sa chi'n ar tudalen 7 bod cymhareb faint o bobl sy'n siarad Cymraeg oedd i fewn i sir wedi mynd fyny, sydd yn rhan o waith mae Sir Rinbych wedi wneud efo ysgolion trwy gyfrwng Gymraeg fel Ysgol Glan Clwyd a Ysgol y Llys ac Ysgol Dewi Sant, dwi'n siŵr. Nawr, ydw i'n ag ysgol, chwarae teg, beth dwi eisiau gwybod ydy pa ddatblygiadau sydd wedi dod ar y ddeddf oddi fewn i'r iaith Gymraeg yn ddiweddar. Mae yna newidiadau wedi dod efo'r ddeddf, efo'r iaith Gymraeg, ydy hwnnw wedi cael ei gyfri yn y cynllun datblygu lleol yma? Cwestiwn i Angela, sgwrs ydy hwnna.
Any further questions? Cynghorydd Mary Gloyd Davies.
Just deud bod ni wedi nodi fel sy'n cael ei ofyn. Dyn nhw'n gofyn am ddim byd mwy na'n nodi bod ni wedi weld.
Angela, please.
Thank you. The local development plan has got policy in it relating to Welsh language and requirements that we place on new developments in terms of producing community and linguistic impact assessments when certain size planning applications are submitted. So we already have that embedded in the local development plan. Now, our approach to that and Welsh language implications is going to have to be reviewed when we review the local development plan to make sure we are bang up to date. We are going to have to undertake a review of the local development plan in 2017, a full review then. I guess the whole point of the annual monitoring report is what it says in the title, basically. It's about monitoring the local development plan to see whether it's actually achieving what it's supposed to be achieving. And the local development plan includes a whole list of targets and triggers which we should be meeting. So the point of this report is to test whether we're meeting those targets and triggers. It may be that a review needs to happen earlier because we're not meeting certain of the targets, but there will definitely have to be one by 2017.
Just add to that, Angela, so just hopefully you know the answer, I'm going to ask you a question. We haven't prepared this. The new Planning Act for Wales has done something different for the Welsh language, hasn't it? Hasn't it made it a statutory... yeah, is it just worth mentioning that? There's something different there, hasn't it? Just for information for members, if nothing else.
Yes, just, we have a new Planning Act for Wales, and there's a lot of secondary legislation coming through at the moment, so I think it would probably be very timely to make sure we have an update for members. I know it's almost a drip feed from Welsh Government in terms of the secondary legislation, so we have more coming forward December, January and so on. So I think it would be helpful to provide an update to members. And as Graham has said, Welsh language is part of that, and it is a statutory consideration.
What's changed is the Welsh language in the Act now has become a material consideration in dealing with planning applications, whereas it wasn't previously. It was something you should take into consideration, but now statutory is given it the law that's a material planning consideration. So that's an interesting shift, and of course it's one that's is unique to the Welsh Planning Act as opposed to anywhere else in the UK. Obviously, it gives Welsh language a lift in terms of it being a material planning consideration.
Thank you. Now, the recommendation was that members note the contents of this report. Noted. Thank you very much. Can I now call Mr. Paul Mead, please? This is an additional to your agenda, and as we've had work processes on it, changes to national planning fees regulations and introduction of pre-application advice charges. And Paul is just going to go through. Thank you very much, Councillor David Smith and Angela. Be matter one.
Okay, sorry guys. Just very briefly, members, this is just an information report for you on the white sheet that you've got in relation to the changes to the national planning fees regulations and an introduction to our own pre-application advice charges. Some members probably in the room attended a recent planning training session, and there's fists being pumped at the back there because it was that exciting. It was phenomenally good. It was around the pre-application charges that Denbighshire County Council have now levied, so they're on our website. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but first and foremost I just wanted to emphasise to members that planning fees generally, and this is nationwide now, are to go up on the 1st of October by 15%. 15%. So I've given you some information. Yes, I've given some information. They haven't been raised for about 7 years now, the planning fees. So we've been operating on set planning fees across Wales and England for a good period of time. Just for clarity, this is not a Denbighshire raising it by 15%. No, to be clear, this is Welsh Government, the statutory fees, and as Paul said, they haven't been raised for some years, 7 years. So this is everywhere in Wales. All planning fees have been raised by 15%. So no, that's fine, Graham. Yeah, and what that means in essence is that obviously if somebody is looking to build a house extension, for example. At the moment, they have to submit an application and pay a fee of £166. That will be £190 come 1st of October. somebody, for example, wanting to build a new dwelling, a full application for that, they're currently paying £366, it will be £380. So I've given a couple of examples within the report there, just for information, just so that people are aware that the fees are going up. The second issue is obviously in planning. We in my team deal with applications, and people pay those national fees to have those applications determined. Obviously we in the planning department do a lot of other work outside of just dealing with those specific applications, and a lot of that work is around having discussions and negotiations with developers and businesses and applicants pre-application, to enable them to get that application in. Now that's all discretionary work for us. We don't have to do any of that. We could just sit there and wait for applications to land on our desks, take the fee and deal with applications. But obviously there's some benefit in us as officers having those pre-application discussions. Through the sort of freedoms and flexibilities process that the council's gone through, you know, we need to be covering our costs when we're doing that. Clearly, we can't be spending an inordinate amount of time in the office dealing with pre-applications for no charge and leaving all the piles of applications that we get where people have paid a fee piling up that we can't deal with. So we've got to get the balance right with that. So we've introduced our own pre-application service in terms of a charging scheme. What I want to emphasise is that's not to say that we as officers within my team do not provide free advice and guidance to people out there. So we want to make sure we're pitching this right. You know, if Mrs Jones, who's thinking of putting an extension up or wants to put in a fence, wants some advice and guidance from us, they can come to us within the planning department. They get free advice. We'll signpost them to the relevant information. But it's for those other things where we were finding that agents and developers were sort of coming to us, getting free advice, and then going back and charging their clients for it. We were missing a bit of a trick there. So we need to levy these charges to try and cover our costs. So that's what your report is about. I went through that at the member training session with members. It was pretty well received. I think members understood why it was that we were introducing these. At some point in the future, the Welsh Government is probably going to introduce a nationwide pre-application charging system. So we'll have to fall in line with the new charges that will be levied across Wales for this pre-application service. We didn't want to wait for that really, because we're giving that advice and guidance now. So we've put the charges in, as you can see within the report. So it's just a recommendation that members note the contents of the information report. If there are any queries, obviously myself and Graham will be here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just add one thing, so I can't, just didn't mention, Paul, okay. That very good summary. Just a bit of interest. In the national fees for your planning applications, not that pre-application stuff that Paul left you with there, but you'll see in the report for the first time now, Welsh Government have introduced the potential of the council having to pay a refund of those fees if applications aren't determined within the preset time. So that's the first time that's ever happened. So in the past, if you wanted your house being built, as Paul said, you pay your £360, and then that was received by us, however long it took us to deal with the application, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, a year, that was the end of it. You got your decision. Now, what they're saying in these fee regs is, if the council haven't determined it by a certain date, and you haven't agreed an extension to that date, we refund the £360 back. We have to give it you back, the applicant back. And that's the first time that's been introduced. I don't think that applies in England. So it's quite a new thing that Welsh Government have introduced. So we've got to watch that, just generally, in processing the applications, because clearly we don't want to be giving fees back to developers. And also that might have an implication on your thinking, because, you know, if you've got an application and then it's getting near the time and it's coming to committee and you want to defer the item for, you know, the committee, that's fine on planning grounds, but just bear in mind there might be a cost to that decision to defer it, because we might be, if it's close to that time scale, we'll be refunding the fee. So all I emphasise there is, if you have questions and issues about planning applications, of course you can raise them here in planning committee, but Paul's team, and I think most members will accept this, are there and available for you, so you don't have to wait to planning committee to raise an issue that results in an application being deferred. You could raise those issues many, many weeks before we get to planning, and hopefully get those issues resolved. and then we've not got our back up against these timescales where fees might need to be returned. So I'm just linking two things there, just taking the opportunity. If you have questions on planning applications, of course you can ask them at Planning Committee, but Paul's team are available to speak to you at any time, you know, in order to try and avoid building up lots of issues at Planning Committee at the 11th hour that result in an application being determined, whereas you'd raised those issues many weeks before the local member, we could possibly have resolved them in advance of coming to committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the report. Please.
Just a quick one. I apologise I missed that training day, Paul. I would have enjoyed it. But I think you're just a little bit misleading, you know. You use an example of Mrs Jones putting in for an extension, and now the Welsh Government are going to change it, it's going to be 15% more. And you quote a figure. But if Mrs Jones happens to, this is where I think you're misleading me, remember, if Mrs Jones happens to live by a tree, there's a £500 back survey got to be done. If Mrs Jones lives not too far from a stream or a river, there's a £3,500 flood assessment. And this goes on and on and on. There's a gravy train involved with planning. It's not just the cost of the planning application. So please don't mislead, because I suppose, are we still on camera?
Yes.
But, you know, people are watching, and they could be very, very easily misled. It's a gravy train as far as I'm concerned, planning, and there's a lot of people living on the back of it.
Just for clarity, of course, as in all things planning, things are interlinked. We brought a report to you based on the fee that you submit to the local planning authority in order to have your application processed. There might be lots of other things that you have to pay for in having that application ready and valid. That's not a fee to the council. This report is about the statutory fee, in fairness, isn't it? If you need to do other things, then of course you've got to comply with them. It's like anything else, isn't it? There might be a fee for my MOT for my car, but if I've got to spend £500 on other things to get it to the fee, that's a cost I have to incur, isn't it?
Very good example. Very good, very good.
Off the top of my head, that one.
Very good. Just two quick questions then. David?
Thank you, Chair, and I'm not sure whether this is the appropriate place to bring it up, but I spoke to the head of service this morning asking was there any movement on the Grange site, and the head of service said that it isn't moving because the 106 agreement has not yet been signed or dealt with. Now, this is a reoccurring thing. We had a very similar thing with the Scarborough development, and I'm sure there are others in the area. I think I'm right in saying it's nearly 12 months now since we gave planning permission to the Grange, and I find it a bit disconcerting that the development is being held up because the 106 agreement hasn't been signed. So I'd like, if possible, a report for who's responsible for the 106 agreement and why it's taking so long to be done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Perhaps Sue would answer your question.
The agreement has been sent out to the developer. We're waiting to have it back. It's been agreed for a number of months, but he hasn't sent it back. The last contact I had with him, he was on holiday in August, and he said he was going to deal with it on his return. So I need to send a reminder to him, but the agreement is agreed. It's just we haven't had it back.
Okay, thank you. Last question, Councillor John Butterfield.
Thank you, Chair. And I also missed the training session. I'm very sorry now to hear that it was very scintillating. Scintillating. So I am very sorry that I missed it. However, I would have asked a question, and this is the pre-application, judging the pre-applications, which I do think has been useful and is certainly useful to applicants. But we used to have an outreach service. Is that still available, or has that been cut?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just on the 2 points, just to follow up on the point that was raised by Susan then in terms of the Grange and the legal agreement. Clearly, if this drags on and we get round to the 12 months after we've been to committee with you and it still hasn't been signed, we'll bring a report back to Planning Committee just to say, look, there's been no legal agreement signed. Let's refuse it now. Members only granted on the basis it was subject to a signing of a legal agreement. If they don't sign it, we'll bring it back. So that's on that one. But hopefully we won't get to that. Hopefully he'll get it signed and we'll move on. In terms of the pre-application advice that Joan raised there, when we used to run planning surgeries on a sort of fortnightly basis, what we tried to do, there was a phase that we went through initially where we did start popping officers into Rill Library and Llangollen and elsewhere, etc. again, that was fairly successful in certain locations, not particularly successful in others. So I was finding some of my officers actually sitting in buildings for a couple of hours with no human beings ever showing their faces. So I had to look at that again. And what we've done now, I think, which is a better service, is that we don't hold anything fortnightly. We've got access to a duty officer daily by people. And really the way our website operates and the way the information is that's out there, the pre-application service that we've got is, let's give free general advice to those who need it and who can least afford it. Let's signpost people to good information on the website and the planning portal to enable them to sort of help themselves find the information. And then finally, let's direct people to planning agents who you know, themselves get paid. They're a business. You know, it's an economic activity. We're giving them the work to put the plans in, to submit the schemes to us. So we're signposting people to agents. And then when those agents want our written advice and guidance and they want some professional input from us, then they should pay for it, clearly. And that's what our charging scheme's about. So in answer to your question, I don't think it was cost effective to do that in terms of sending people out to everywhere. But the way it actually works now, I think people contact us by phone or by email on a daily basis anyway. Thank you.
Just last one question, Councillor Winwell and James, please.
Thank you. It's only to ask if this information has been sent to town councils as well, and if not, could it be, please?
Yeah, Chair, absolutely. We can circulate that to town council. Thank you, Em.
Before we close, can I just say that the members' session that we had was extremely interesting, very enjoyable and very informative. And I'd like to thank members to Paul and to Judith for that session. It was brilliant. Can I thank the officers for their work this morning and the supporting staff? And thank you very much, members. Diolch yn fawr. I declare the meeting closed.
Thank you very much, Chair. Appreciate it. Thank you, Raymond.